Oh. Yeah.
How does that look?
Yeah.
Good? Okay.
So this is, no, wait a minute.
6 total.
Yeah.
4 board members.
Like, still to get the.
Okay.
The end there.
Here, the one thing I do want to do before we get any more people in here is make sure I can get into remote. Good, perfect. That was what I was nervous about.
So what we have to figure is what the people were, we had several comments. What they were complaining about was that the sound. They couldn't hear me, they could hear people, but they couldn't hear people on the end. Yeah. And they, so I'm wondering if we had something.
Here, right there.
Yeah, but it probably means a certain distance stays out, so. Maybe, is it possible to get more than one microphone?
Oh, I mean, it's possible to get as many as we need. It's a matter of hooking it up. That's what I'm nervous about.
Yeah. Well, are they Bluetooth?
They are Bluetooth, but I have this connected Bluetooth, that connected Bluetooth. I'm not sure what my hesitation is how many speakers with built-in microphones can go via Bluetooth and how that works out, you know, because obviously, I don't know. I mean, that's not something I've ever ventured into, so.
Who's checking? Just so you know, when Sandra does this presentation, how it works, you can actually sound directly from his laptop, right, to the smart screen. So he doesn't need an HDMI cable to do that. What you said upstairs was, open your browser, right, and open your application, and you can hear. Your application.
Some things are very simple. Something
Without a wire?
Yeah.
Yep, because you have Wi-Fi. As long as you have the Wi-Fi. You know what I mean? So just, you want to have this table and try it.
that was my other,
Well,
that was
you
my
can
other.
try it, Julie.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering if that could do. We can push this one in a little bit more, so. Right. Tell me how far you want it in. Like that?
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
this one as well?
Yeah. Yeah. I'll try it.
Okay.
Handle.
Good.
See how that goes. Electronics for my husband. Thank you for.
Mike, you're up first here. You can sit, yeah, you can sit with me. Oh, good thing. It's a good thing for you. I mean, not to get your own.
Yeah, we're doing you first, then the library, and then the state. And we got DPW. Yeah, that's the long one.
Oh, yeah. There is meeting or, materials that were sent to the board and right there. Oh. Each print process is stack of files. So take a whole other packet.
Okay.
And it's going right in order of the department as well.
Excellent. It's going okay. Considering
So
it.
the heat is programmed to 73, but it's 66.
Well,
So I'm wondering if they turn something
I'm
off
kind of
in
used to that
here,
part.
so it won't go up here.
I'm sorry, it's one of the coldest rooms in Christendom. It's freezing all the time. It's freezing in the summer, it's freezing in the winter. It's word to the wise.
Yeah.
Wear your socks. Look at.
Well, well, no, the sun is up, but it's not running.
At some point.
Oh, that would explain it.
Yeah, that's why.
My parents are in, South Carolina right now.
They have some notes. Are you gonna speak to them when they come back?
I'm very happy for them, you know, because son and.
So South Carolina is supposed to be a little cool this time. of year.
Yeah, warmer than here.
No, warm.
My sister lives in North Carolina and, you know, I don't get to see her very often, but when I did the last time, it was so cold. And it was in the middle of summer. And how?
What's the temperature at?
She's in Charlotte.
59?
Yeah,
50?
Mary, and, she
61
was
over
thrilled
there.
because
Is that what it's programmed at?
She's like, oh, this is great. I'm like, "What do you-" I can't even
Really?
warm.
Program.
I was in, I was
61.
in World.
Huh.
Yeah.
I'm looking at. Yeah.
Oh,
Savannah's nice. I like
that,
that.
yeah, they went to Savannah and Chester. Oh, no, Savannah and Charlotte.
Yeah.
And, yeah, my niece went to school down.
Actually, gotta put some night in it.
Really? Work?
Yeah, of
This
course.
is my mom.
Next town.
Oh, town.
That may put the coat back on.
Well, that's not gonna do you any good. Huh.
We need to put the clock back on that wall. Where did it go? And all it needed was that.
I feel like we put lots of batteries in them over the few years I've been.
I want Andrew to come.
You know, I hate to be unprepared 2 days in a row, but I don't have a pen. And I have your pen in my car still.
Oh, well.
I can go and get it, but-
Here, I'll give you this pen, I'll use
Okay.
pencil. Like pencil in it, because I made, there's hardly too many mistakes. I mean, we say. Oh, God.
You almost had one on Thursday. Oh, well.
Well, it's presenting the comprehensive plan
Oh, okay.
meeting. I guess.
Is that tomorrow?
Thursday.
Thursday.
Good evening, Mr. Doris. Hi.
It's only supposed to snow for about 2 hours, it says.
Yeah.
10 o'clock.
I don't either.
You've been pretty
Oh,
good.
yeah.
On,
It's my own doing.
Probably enough to get the roads
No,
wet
I'm.
and then re-ice in another 3 hours.
Yeah. Okay. Ooh.
I could use that all year.
It's been a long time since I
My
drove
truck-
in the
my
snow
truck
at
just
night.
said it's 36 out. This is 32.
You know,
Less than 10 minutes.
Remember
About 10
the
minutes.
huge
so, yeah.
snowstorm that we did that we had last year in
Oh,
early
yeah. I
December.
remember it very well.
Oh,
Yeah,
last
okay,
year,
what
oh
did
my
we get?
goodness. It was 30.
30 some
something
inches.
Okay. So I am measuring, I have a way of measuring, I have a yardstick from the sixties from the
Advanced
Chevrolet
technology.
place that was where the DPW.
It's all very Chevrolet.
So I found it in the house in the morning, and I use that, that's what I use it for, I love that thing, but I use it to measure the snow. And as I'm pulling it out and it's saying, 26 inches, I looked at my app and it says chance of snow. I decided I think I need a new app.
Oh, it was terrible though. We had, that 30 something inches of snow, and that's when we lived in our townhouse, which was a mutual driveway with 4 people. And, you know, the 2 front people, they had someone plow, but they don't plow till it's over. My husband has to work, he has to get out. The other person next to us, you know, are elderly, so they're not, you know,
Going
jumping out
anywhere.
there, yeah. Oh, it took him 6 hours, 6 hours to snow blow it out, just,
Oh,
it was
wow.
terrible. It wasn't warm either, it was not warm.
Talking about the snowstorm last December.
It started snowing.
Yeah, right now. While we're here. Well, it's gonna be 55 on Sunday. Yeah. it's warming up again. No, it's been Frank, the problem with the weather is I talked about it. Yeah. Sort of like my office. How many DPW workers working on the record books above us. Oh, my God, it started, they're close to, they're like a house of fire. Close to finish.
Doing it, we're doing it, or the?
Well,
We're getting it ready.
we're getting ready, and we had to totally redo the record rooms, take out all of the old shelving, which is not appropriate. They've cleaned and painted, covered some walls to make it, put in, better lighting. We're putting in, wine, so to protect the documents. For what? Would there be enough room to put a desk up there for somebody to work? It's not, there's no, heat for air conditioning up there. Well, that's not good for record. Better call it. Record is supposed to be. Yeah. They do it. Yeah.
That's what we use when we paint.
Yep. And that's what we're gonna have to put in the consultant to come in and start.
I'm ready to begin when you guys are. It is 7 o'clock, so got a full schedule here.
Right, 7 o'clock, let's start with the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic, one nation, under God, indivisible. Okay, welcome to our first budget workshop, where we have various, we have village departments come in and tell us what their needs are, so in preparation for the 2023 budget. So we're going to have this evening, we're going to have the court, also the library, and then we're going to end with DPW.
You can say right there.
Right there. Okay. All right, so, Julia and Mike, Marcy are going to talk about the court budget, and everybody's been given worksheets so we can fill in as we go along.
So just to make sure that we hit every aspect of the comptroller's account. There's one, there should be some extra copies over there. We're just gonna go line by line here. Any requested information, abnormal requests such as, a building improvement equipment or, special projects will be elaborated a little bit more by the department head. But starting off with the village justices here, the first line that we'll go over is for personnel services or the salaries. As I understand, there is a proposal to go higher than what we intentionally do every budget year for the part-time clerk staff. So if you wanted to elaborate on that.
Well, last year, Mayor then agreed to increase the court clerks to bring them more in line with the other courts, and newer full-time or part-time employees in the village to $18 an hour. So you guys voted on that, and then we raised them to $15.50, but they were down at like $11.20. So this year, the proposal is to bring them up to $16.75, and I'm assuming, I'd like the assurance so I can assure them that next year it'll jump up to $18.
So it's the,
$1.25.
but is that for the fiscal, this whole fiscal year?
Correct.
Yeah. We're,
And I just-
everything we're talking about is June 1st, 22 to May 31st.
But I mean, I'd like the assurance so I can assure them that we're gonna make the jump to 18 next year.
that's the reason for this.
Correct, yeah. So this budget year, in fiscal year 2021, we were at 45,255. And that was, originally at the 1120, but bumped up to the 1550. So this new increase would put personnel services, requested, increase would put personnel services to 52,308.57. That is reflecting on those worksheets that were passed out.
And Mike, about that, we'll look at this, I can certainly say that we understand that that was the intention, but I don't, I don't know what's gonna happen between now and next year, so, okay? But we certainly understand that that was the intention.
Right.
Okay?
This coming year, 1675.
Yes.
Right.
Requested, yep. The other salaries that are included in that is also the judge, salary, assistant judge. So there are.
They call it
co-
co-judge
okay.
now. Change the title.
Okay, I'll make that change too. So there's two part-time staff and one additional part-time staff that helps with
Records.
just lost time and as well as records.
Not as many hours. The court clerk is there Mondays, usually about 1 o'clock till the end of court. Well, there's two clerks there. Tuesdays 1 to 5, Thursdays 1 to 5. And that's posted on the website.
If it's not, we'll update it. I know we've
Last I
had
knew
several.
it was
The court is actually held.
Monday nights at 5 every week, unless it's a holiday.
So for the record, yes, it's personnel services.
Correct.
Q is
Equipment, yep,
E is capital.
is contractual. And some contractuals are any expenses, I mean,
Anything else?
really basically anything else, yes. Some departments do have building improvement. In this instance, since the judge or the courts and the police are in the same building, it's considered a shared service, and we'll go over that with our village hall department workshop meeting.
The,
Couldn't afford.
so here, Justice CS 52,308, that's not the 52,613. That's, it's going from 26,50, no, it's going from 45
So
to
just-
55 to 52,308.
Nope, so actually, sorry, I can explain this from the beginning so we can all understand where these worksheet numbers are coming from. So this is actually taken from the comptroller's requested budget template, basically. So that first column, 2021 actual, this is what was reported in the AUD for fiscal year 2021. That next column is the 2022 adopted, and that is what we adopted for this current year's fiscal year budget. The 2022 year-to-date actual is what we reported for this account as of January 31st of 2022. And that 2022 projected is based off of the numbers that we had as of the end of January. This is where I'm projecting this account to be at the end of the year. And then the 2023 requested, per the worksheets that I passed out, I've only filled out the salaries based off of requirements such as minimum wages or union contracts. In this instance, I was aware of a requested increase as Judge Morrissey just talked about, but then some of the other requested information we'll fill out and we'll speak about during these workshop meetings.
So this 52,308 reflects $18 an hour.
Nope, this one reflects the 1675.
Oh,
And that is the total reason for the increase from 39,386 to 56.
Correct, yep. Some hours are, because they are hourly, I can budget for a full part-time staff, which is 19 and a half hours for their staff over there. And so given those hours of 19 and a half hours per court clerk, they may or may not reach that number each week. So there is sometimes a little bit of an increase, yeah, wiggle room or an increase there in case they do work a full 19 and a half hour week.
we have number for the no equipment.
Yep, so just going down the list, if you're all set with the salaries and discussing that, Equipment, I don't believe that you had any requested equipment that
Most
you'd
of
be
the
purchasing.
equipment, for court computers, everything like that is also right by the city. So,
And I will just put out there as well,
Mhm.
equipment has to meet a minimum of $1,000 per item to actually meet the comptroller's kind of requested dollar amount to meet equipment. So, yeah, it wouldn't necessarily, exactly, correct.
Where
Yep.
would it go?
It would go under the CE, but it wouldn't go under equipment. So like, trustee Cormos just said, a $500 equipment wouldn't make it, but $1,000 computer might. And then going down to contractual is kind of that, all other expense. And I'll just go down some of the requested budget numbers for what I would like to see in there, such as, the first one that I would like to put in for requested information is what I would consider contracts. We do have court security that does go to the court hearings every week. This is a contract that we have, and given 47 weeks of court, their hourly rate of $38.50 and approximately 3 to 4 hours, that would be a budgeted amount of about $5,500 just for the court security. The next on my list is document destruction, and that's record shredding. And just as Judge Morrissey just said, we do have that part-time clerk to help with records management, and that does include shredding documents.
so her salary's in there.
No, not her salary, but just the shredding of the materials would be under the CE.
So the company comes in.
Yeah, the court is different than anybody else. And when we shred and destroy documents, it has to be done on site, it has to be supervised, because there's sensitive information. The truck comes and there's literally a camera shining in the shredder. You can watch everything get shredded. That's just the way we have to do it.
Did you have any questions? on
Yeah,
that?
that number, you said 55.
5,500 for the court security and 2,000 for
Okay.
document destruction, because it is a higher security and. You might, I'm sorry, I was looking at the wrong, looking at current year. Sorry, so court security is actually $8,008, I'm sorry. But the document destruction still remains at the 2,000. Yep.
You want to go up some-
For this fiscal year, we did have budgeted at less hours per week, but per the contract, they actually have a 4-hour minimum versus the 3-hour that we had. Plus, this current year, I believe it was,
When we originally set it up, COVID was going on. I think we started halfway through the year. And when we rebudgeted, I don't think we really looked at that number and recalculated it. So we were a little under.
Yep. The courts also have a copier lease, per our contract. This would be $1,617.20. So that would be included under this account. We have a phone and internet. So this is obviously their phone systems and the internet that they have over there, and that would be $1,560. We did touch upon phone systems and looking into new ones. Single ones, yes. So that is something that hopefully we can get going before the fiscal year, but I'm still holding my breath on that one. But in the instance that we do get a new phone system, it should reduce our phone costs throughout all village departments nearly half. But until then, I want to budget for,
$1,000 is like $70 a month.
Yep. Yeah, just to give you actual numbers. So for their phone, they don't have internet over there to shared service amongst both the court and yep, the police. But their phone lines over there are $130 a month.
Just for the court?
Yep, just for the court. Yep.
What do you have these detailed numbers?
I have it based off of the history on what our current expenses are. So these are kind of the ones where they're reoccurring, they're monthly. I have those numbers based off of history just in our accounting system. So that's where I'm coming up with those numbers.
Wouldn't it be a little bit more efficient if we saw
Apply
that
those numbers?
and then, you projected and then we said, yeah, fine, and we wouldn't have to go over every number. Might be a little quicker.
Well,
I know, I think,
Some departments will be pretty long document,
right. Well,
not the court.
I think we want the departments to be, say what they need and, well, I mean, a lot of these are costs where you're just projecting what it's gonna be, it's not. Okay, we'll look at it, yeah. I'm just thinking this is gonna take a long time.
Okay, based off of history of repair and maintenance, as well as I believe you have intended a little bit of a project this year. I'm putting in $1,000, that's just for repairs on walls, repairs for fixtures, so on and so forth.
We're gonna move the wall upstairs to make the records look bigger, because we have records out in the hallway, down in the other. We were actually gonna plan on doing it last year. Yeah, because we're gonna use a lot of the existing wall that's there, we're just moving it over, making it bigger, filling in the space, so. What's that?
We gotta get a new place.
Well, that could be up here where it's just building improvements, a couple million, would be nice.
Yeah. Well, we got, unfortunately, a lot of needs.
Yeah.
In lots of ways.
Anyway, supplies, 25.
Yep, supplies, 2,500, again, just based off of history, that's all I anticipate, they would
So
use.
any of these, significantly different than previous years?
Supply, the one increase that is pretty significant is that court security that we went over. We are trying to put in a little bit more money for training for all of our departments, and you'll notice that, once we get further along in the budget workshop, we have about $2,000 in there for the court, for their both, their part-time staff, as well as, I don't know if any of the judges want or have any.
Because there's required training for court clerks and judges. Sometimes we have to travel to do it. Sometimes it's online.
And last that we do have put in here, and it's kind of made us more aware in more recent years, is $750 for interpretation services.
That's a tough number to figure out because it varies. People don't speak English. We have to have a court-approved interpreter that has to be there to interpret. Can't be just anybody. And that $750 could be enough if you have one case, but if we have 6 or 7 cases and we have one interpreter for this language, we're gonna go over. That's really a tough number to budget for.
But you had a little leeway.
Correct. Yep. So I don't know if you want an overall number for this department, but I do have that calculated since there was no changes in some of our historic numbers. $71,743.77.
Let's just give us the CE line.
Oh, CE, okay, yep, that is $19,435.
What's this 52,308?
Salary.
This, the sum of this,
Right.
and we're putting this in, so. to get-
Oh, you didn't add that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
So total, that should be that $71,743.77.
Christine, do you want me to give them a brief overview of everything like we talked about the other day or not?
So we're talking about a $19,000 increase from last year. 52,600.
Oh, the number went down.
We had 2022 project. Is that what your project gonna spend this year?
I'm sorry, repeat that one more time.
52,613 is what we're thinking we'll spend this year.
Correct, yep.
Right. And then next year, we're just 71,743, so it's about $19,000 more.
Yeah, so our actual budgeted, adopted budget for this year was a 61. So we're proposing up to 71,000 for this requested number overall for the department.
Yeah, 10,000.
Yep. Is a request. Yep.
majority of that is.
Yep, and the projected numbers can fluctuate, like, Mike just said, if there are interpretations that can definitely cost us or, an increase in something that was unanticipated for this year. So projections are just based off of current history, and the numbers.
I don't think this year had interpretations.
We did not have any this year.
We still have.
We still had like,
Because
when did the court open back up?
that could be why.
So anyway, overall, I can honestly tell you the court is in relatively good shape, other than, of course, the facility, which you guys all know about that. We did complete the audit, the independent audit. Let me just make a comment on this. The audit that is required every year is actually an internal audit. It's done by your chief financial officer. And we discussed this at our meeting with Christine and Julia. Julia is prepared to do that audit every year, and we've made alterations in providing her with the monthly reports. The actual audit that we went through this year was a remote audit. It's the first time we ever did that. Every time before, the auditor was right there. And if a question arose, clerk would pull something, pull a file. So there was a lot of back and forth emails and stuff. He was calling reports this, well, that's not what they're called in our system. So there's a lot of back and forth, took a long time. Couple issues arose and we've taken corrective action. There was one issue where a case was transferred to county court. The bail was transferred, but when they put the case entry in, they forgot to click the button to transfer the case, the money. The money was actually transferred, so the account in the computer showed more, or excuse me, less than what was actually paid. That was corrected. So, and the other two issues were the fine account has a $22 balance at the end of every month, because that's what I opened the account with. And the auditor couldn't understand why there was a $22 balance. That's why. Because every month the fine account zeroes out. We write a check to the village for everything we took in for the month. Well, it shows a $22 balance because that's why the account is. The bail account shows a $61 difference between what the computer says. There's actually $61 more in the bank. Now, I've been to the bank. The records don't go back that far because that account predates me. It's the early 80s when that was open. So I don't know what it was open. But that carries a $61
We're not talking big.
more in the bank than what the computer says. Not a real big deal. So what we've done is we've updated the software. They have what they call a more secured version of SCI. So as the girls are doing data entry, it gives them more prompts. Like, do you really want to do this? You know what I mean? Where before, if they just F this or F12, or they could have screwed up, and then it takes them forever. They have to go back and figure out where the mistake was. So that was one of the additions. We've upgraded the software. That was done 2 weeks ago, I think.
Yeah, very
2,
recently.
3 weeks ago. We've also, we're running additional monthly reports and reviewing them, and then we're giving everything to Julie. So she has every month broken down. We didn't, like before, we didn't really look at the bail account much because there wasn't ever much activity. So now we do that every month. And copies go to her. So court in general is in good shape, other than caseloads down. Less.
I guess that's good, right?
Well, it is and it isn't. I mean, it is for me, but not for you. See, you gotta remember, as a judge, the court is not a profit center, and I can't run it as a profit center. It generates revenue, and that's an advantage for you, but I don't look at that numbers really. I really don't. Once a year, maybe twice a year, that's it. Because I don't say, okay, I'm down a couple thousand this month, I gotta find extra. It don't work that way. If I was to do that, they'd throw me. I'm not even allowed to. So obviously, caseload is down. UTT state traffic ticket load is down. The other problem we're going to start coming across is the changes that they made to fine collection on UTTs. That's a New York State traffic ticket for speeding whatsoever. You can no longer suspend their license for not paying. The only recourse we have is a certificate. That's the only recourse. So if I assess a fine, and they don't pay it, there's nothing that the court can do to force them to pay it. Like before, we used to suspend their driver's license. They didn't pay. They've changed that. You can't do that. The only thing we can do is convert it to a civil judgment. Like I said, parking tickets Units are down.
You're talking that revenue. That's
Basically, and it is down. I did run some rough numbers. I ran a report last night. I had the girls run a report. Your parking violations as of from June 1 to last night, parking tickets. Now, these are village parking. It's 460 last year for a total of $13,460. Overall, everything, the court generated about 71,385. Now, that's not just the village here, because everything is broken down between the state, county, and the village. Everybody. So we get a report, and Julia gets copies of it. We don't get them every month. We might go a couple months, and then they send us 2 or 3. So,
Yeah.
but it does give you a breakdown of how much they went to the state, how much went to the county, and how much went to the village. Which one?
71.
71,385.
85. Okay. Percent wise, just the ballpark on the.
I did do a percent. Oh, it varies because you can't figure that out because depending on the citation, the percentage is different. It's different for all. Speeding's different than parking on the highway. There's something in traffic.
When you talked about an audit, was that our auditor or is no?
That was a private audit.
Right. And they have a separate
No,
system or it's, I mean, it's done according to OSC rule, not OS, OCA rule, Office of Court Administration, correct?
that and the control.
And the controller.
Right.
So and it's different than
That was
other
that,
departments here.
Correct.
That's what I'm trying to.
yeah, it was a private audit just,
Okay, yeah, that's what I didn't quite understand.
and like I said before, that doesn't need to be done every year. That's an expense your financial officer can do it. Basically, she'll audit, pull some files, double check the fine assessments, and then at a meeting, you adopt a resolution that stuff's been audited and that's sent to the control.
And didn't we talk about doing it internally for?
An
Right.
independent audit, maybe every 3 years.
Right, okay, so.
That's up to you guys. I mean, I'm not trying to get out of,
I know.
I welcome it. I don't have a problem. with it, 'cause They always find something.
Right, right,
And that's one of the reasons we've instituted all these changes.
okay.
The parking program is up and running. It's been about a year. So we're still having some issues. We're losing receipt numbers and stuff because it's basically a separate program that does link with SDI. And every day you have to upload all the information. And sometimes the back and forth is getting lost or the girls are doing something correctly. So we're slowly working through it. The biggest problem we're having, and it's very important that all our receipt numbers are numerical. And we'll lose a receipt number for whatever reason, then they'll spend hours and hours trying to find out what happened to the receipt number. And we note it on each monthly report when she gets it, so she knows that, skip the receipt, whatever happened. Do you want to ask something, Kristen?
No.
Okay. Yeah, in the parking lot, in the parking program, it's given to us by OCA. And they support it to a degree, but they don't give you any training. And you call them and, they take a while to call you back because they support it, but they don't want to support it because they want you to use the state PPP. They don't want you to use their own tickets because you get all the money. So that's part of
They
it.
don't encourage.
So the pay increases that we talked about, and any questions? You guys have any questions? Part of the court and its operation.
I mean, we
Six.
had.
Last year, well, it's from June 1 to last night, 460 tickets, 13,460.
And that's up from previous years.
I don't really know, because I didn't really look at the previous. Well, we
With
didn't have the
the-
program.
Right,
So-
especially with the added.
Once we got the program, we haven't gone back and stuff, because it's just
Raised the fine.
too difficult. Yeah, you did.
And the parking enforcement officers, new as of, I want to say, last fiscal year.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so, I mean,
some people are happy about that.
um, anyway, we're looking through the issues with the parking program. I'm sure some of it is just learning it, and others is for whatever reason doesn't like to talk to you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
You guys have a wonderful evening.
Andrea, would you like to come up?
Some people, Andrea Simmons, our library director.
All right, Andrea, I think you missed the part where I was just gonna explain, or when I was explaining, we'll go line by line, just to make sure that, the board has all the information. I'm gonna start off with personnel services and go down, large equipment. I'll talk about, some of the values I got from historic numbers, and you can talk about any additives or requested information, that you proposed or requested for this year. I'll just go over the personnel line for library. We do have the library and clerk, salaries in there for the hours that they do work. There is a 10% increase for them proposed for as of June 1st. Because the minimum wage has not been posted and they won't be posting it until October, we do have a little bit of a cushion just in case that they raise it significantly, like in years prior when they have done about $1 increase. That should be said, those are the, as well as Andrea has an increase of about 2.5% on her salary. Apart from that, there is no significant increases for the salary.
So the library clerks are getting basically.
Yep,
Yes.
they're getting minimum wage as of June 1st, they get a 10% on top of that. They work 19 and a half hours, which is the maximum for a part-time staff to work. Correct, yeah.
So,
Yep, increase as well as, just, I really don't know where minimum wage is going. Years prior, they did put, a schedule transition to get up to the $15, mostly targeted towards New York City and down there. But since New York City met their $15 an hour minimum wage, they kind of lost that, multi-year planning for minimum wage across the rest of New York. This past year, I believe they increased it 70 cents. I could be wrong on that number. So, just to prepare for any increase that they
Don't they usually project it out like the.
October.
I thought when they passed the bill, it's like a multi-year thing.
There was until New York City hit their $15 minimum wage increase that they were projecting towards, but now the rest of the state, we just have to, yeah. So they do put that information out in October, unfortunately, a few months late.
What is the salary then? What's the minimum wage? What's that?
Currently, we are at, let me scroll down to that. $13.20, do you know off the top of your head?
that's correct.
$13.20, so, and from June 1st until the end of December, it would be $13.30, and then wherever minimum wage takes us, would be for the remainder of the year.
And you had
$13.30 for June 1st, but not 10 cents on top of, whatever minimum wage goes to after January.
your question.
Yeah, yep. Okay.
Are you able to keep that?
Yeah, we are. Yeah, people like working here. It's a pleasant environment.
Next is equipment, and Andrea, I do believe that you had requested some money in there for computers and monitors. Do you want to just talk about that?
Yeah, so we get our computers and our monitors from our systems headquarters in Saratoga. And we're locked
talked into using their services and purchasing from them. They give us a schedule of computers that they will fix and maintain, and they phase out older ones. We are using phased out ones. So I'm proposing to swap out 5 computers, because what happens when it phases out, they won't fix it. They won't touch it after that. So we're kind of forced, even if they're still running, we're forced, which is unfortunate, but they provide us with IT support. That way we don't have to have our own IT support on staff, which is very expensive. So, and they can do it remotely. They can hook into our computers and fix things remotely, which is invaluable for a small staff. So we also need 4 monitors. Our monitors are very old, and what's happening is with the new computers, they're not compatible. They don't have the right input. So we have to start phasing out our monitors with the new ones, so everything works.
And these are not staff monitors, these are the ones upstairs, the ones that are
Flat
used,
screen.
that are used by public.
Yes. Yep. 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 So I stagger it. I don't ask for money each year. I try to stagger the cost. It's not every year I'm asking for more. Last year, this past fiscal year, I didn't ask for any money for technology, for computers, because the previous year I did.
You didn't spend any of this.
Well, that is for the microfilm reader printer. That's for another piece of equipment for our local history room. I need to get quotes for that to expend that amount. But right now, our machine is half working. You can view the microfilm. We have the Ballston Journal from 1847 to 2012. That's the only way you can use it with the microfilm. People can't print with it though. That developer unit within the microfilm machine is broken, and it costs probably more for just the component than to buy a whole new one.
So you plan on spending?
Yes.
$3,000?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what's the total for your computers a month?
Well, I have figures from the last group buy. So I'm adding a small cushion because I don't have next group buys numbers. So for 2021, they quoted $780, and that's everything. It's like good to go. They have the security, they set it up, they do everything. So I'm guessing it's going to be 800, just in case, you know, there's just a little wiggle room. For a total of 5,000. For a total of 5,000. So 800 per computer, bringing it to 4,000, and then $170 per monitor, bringing it to $680.
With a little bit of cushion.
Yeah, but we need a little cushion because I don't have this year's figure.
What's the total?
5,000. Yeah.
Up from 3.
Yeah. But this is staff computers and for the public.
Yeah.
We'll probably do like maybe 3 public computers. And that way people can access everything they need to, internet and Word and Microsoft products and things like that. Yeah, it comes with everything. Everything.
Subsidized, it's less because you're going to do
The library's just-
There are cords to adapt monitors.
Yes, and I've tried that. Yes. Oh, I know. There's little adapters, but even with adapters, they're not working because our monitors are so old.
You sell the old equipment or have you?
I'm not sure if I can sell them the computers, but the monitors perhaps. I'll have to check into that. Yeah, they have to wipe it and all that.
Yeah, but it's not probably depending on the age, it's not worth that much.
Right.
You have your software on. And remember, as crazy as it sounds, you can't sell municipal property that belongs to taxpayers. There's a whole process to get rid of it. You can't just put it out on the table and say it's for sale. Rush.
Yeah.
Right. You've seen it throw it out.
I know.
There are
There's a way.
Maybe
Yeah, I mean, if there is a way, I'm more than happy. Like, we just upgraded to a new printer, which allows our patrons to print wirelessly from a tablet, from a laptop, from a phone, and it's been awesome. But it pains me to throw out our old one that works okay. So I gave it to the village office. So if they can repurpose it, I'm really happy about it.
So the one thing, I forwarded this to you a few weeks ago, not to you, sorry.
Okay, I'm like, what did I miss?
Is the idea of wiring this space up potentially for like a permanent remote capability. You know, they did it at town of Ballston, it would cost, I don't know, $5,000 or something. Depends how much equipment you already have, based on what you already bought. But, you know, they have a company that they have contracted with, the company gave them two costs, one for just equipment, which was like $2,500, and one was with equipment plus installation, that was close to $6,000. So I think it's a good investment in the future, not just for board meetings, but any meeting, any community meeting, comprehensive plan, arts committee. That was,
What's the difference?
well, the one thing is it was very poor quality that we have right now in terms of just sound control. The camera was facing here, but it wasn't facing there. It's just more capability in terms of getting the whole room. And also, you don't have to set it up and take it down every time it's here for any group to use. I think it's like the future, and I think at some point it's going to be like standard for every municipality to have some of that kind of functionality. I would support that kind of investment in that.
One of the things that is going to happen is that in terms of making that investment, the library is going through a master plan. And as you know, we approved this last night on the budget, and there's going to be a gentleman who comes in who does this. He's going to look at library space, configure, you know, and he knows that this is a community room and it's used for that kind of, it's used for meetings and for training and for various things. The village uses this when we weren't in the pandemic mode. We use this for training. So I think that we should wait and see on this idea to see, you know, what he says and what he thinks would be work, because he's very well versed in this kind of thing as well. So I don't know that we want to do that now. I also have to say, from the point of view in the library, if this is going to be used as, you know, putting this all, if that's kind of expense, putting it all in the library budget, I think it's a bit unfair. I mean, because this is used by, you know, this is the most visited and used building in the village system. So I think if we're talking about that kind of thing, it's also, we have to be careful about where we put these stuff.
So is that planning process a year long?
It's going to be finished by
well, I think he's going to have it prepared by June, maybe May or June.
but it's going to be a phased approach.
Yes.
Yeah. And we have, you know, in terms of, we know that we have some glitches here in this system. We're working on it, and we, you know, up until the time we decide to, and we have talked to him about what this room might need, because we did talk to him about it. There are some dead spots. Yeah. So,
Absolutely. No, but I like that
And
concept.
yeah, and his build out is going to be phased.
So it's too early, but maybe next year. You're
Mhm.
thinking?
We can definitely address that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
definitely,
like
that'd
that
be
very
good.
much.
Yeah, great community asset.
Definitely. I agree with you. So I'm sure he'll address things like that.
All right, so not yet.
Not yet. Okay, if you're ready to move on to the next line, which is building improvement. So with this building altogether, what do you have requested? So, we've been doing for the last 3-4 years, we've been doing, the village has committed $10,000 to various projects that we've accomplished. We've accomplished brand new front steps, so they're not a hazard. We've addressed our ice
issue on the south side ramp, which was another safety issue. We've really been focusing on safety. So we worked the roof, we put on gutters and heat tape. Now we don't have major icing on that side, and then the dripping and the freezing on the sidewalk. It's been pretty much eliminated. So that's where some of the money is going.
Maybe replace windows.
Yes, the windows, which were such an eyesore, you probably could just touch it and they would fall right in. So, yeah, and it looks so much nicer, just aesthetically, really.
The
much
library
nicer.
has a facilities committee and a plan. You know, they're going through the
The
list.
plan, but instead of just doing things random, we have sought out help from Paul Mays, who is an architect that specializes in library improvements. So that's where this master plan.
Save this space or be arranged differently. Yes,
Exactly,
absolutely.
exactly. And just the space overall, he's going to look at it in terms of user experience rather than just transactional. You go in, you check out, you leave. We want it to become a destination. You want to be here, you want to hang out, you want to spend time, you want to, maybe do work from home, but go to the library, do, business at the library instead of just go in, get out, because it's, not a place you want to hang out. So that's the goal, to make it a lot more user-friendly in many, many aspects. A cafe, sure. Could be a barista on top of everything.
Well,
Sure, why not?
Why not?
Why
It's
not? Yeah.
interesting also that for a library our size and a building our size, we actually have more square footage than supposedly we need. But the thing is that it's on 2 floors. So that's the challenge.
That is the challenge, and making sure it's secure and using it efficiently, but also making sure it's secure while we're open. So he's going to look at all the aspects. So, and then he'll tell us based on a phased approach, how to accomplish the big picture, which
So
I
the
think we
building-
really need.
The building group, you don't know what you want to do yet, you're waiting for.
But
You
we
got it.
are intending $10,000
Yeah.
Or
Or 10,000.
to keep the $10,000 per year plan that we've
Yeah, it
initiated
makes
for a
sense
few years.
because what we've done this summer and you're gonna want to do something.
Exactly. And he's also, part of his services, he's going to help us apply for New York State construction grants that will help augment our projects. Yeah.
You might recall a couple of weeks ago, at a meeting, I don't know, remember when it was, but we approved, what was it, $8,000 for, we were gonna redo the downstairs bathroom. So the $10,000 for the capital improvement of the library, we're gonna go to this bathroom because, open to the public and meetings and blah, blah, blah. But when we came up with when we then came upon this idea of just taking a very holistic look at the whole thing, we said, let's not do the bathroom right now, the library, let's not do the bathroom right now and use that money to pay for the study. Because,
Yeah.
right, to look at the whole thing, set up a plan.
Yeah, it's the plan, but it's also his services to help us prepare for these grants. He will
We're
give us
doing a
the
lot of
figures.
that.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
gonna do the application.
They'll feed me the application and I'll do the
Right.
application because he can't physically do that, but
Right.
that's invaluable.
So
Just the facts and figures.
The equipment for virtual meetings also could.
Sure, absolutely.
Yep.
All right,
So
so
it's
that
pretty
10,000, that for the, was in lieu of doing improvements, you spent
Right.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
And there are things the library has, 2 accounts, the trustees account and the clerk's account. And that those things are also used for various, like, to do the lighting.
Lighting,
behind
more
the desk.
lighting upstairs.
Right. And that's from, there are, everything that the library takes in, like fines and things, that all becomes the village. But there are certain things like there's a donation jar on the desk that people, they sometimes go change it, and that's called the clerk's account. And they use that, then the clerks decide what they want to do with that. They wanted lighting behind the desk or whatever, but that was one of the things. And the trustees account is
the trustees account is the library's board is also a board of trustees account, okay? And this is some money that is accumulated over time from, gifts, requests, and stuff like
So
that.
it's separate from the village.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. I mean, the village
The village
con-
controls their
track of
account.
it and
Yeah.
controls it.
Yeah. It
Right,
is using
but it's
village
all
and tax
dedicated. It's, yeah, yeah.
All right, if you want to go down to the contractual line,
So I just,
I can explain some of the detail
Yeah,
of this
go ahead.
one, and then if, just because it makes it a little bit easier with the history of the figures. So the library does have a cleaning service. They do come weekly, and for 52 weeks at $150, plus, steam cleaning the carpets, I believe once a year, that total is $8,400. And that is what was budgeted in this year as well, so it's consistent. They do have a alarm system here, which is approximately $100 per year. They do quarterly maintenance on the elevator, which is about $360 a year. Utilities, I'll say this once, but it's going to be consistent amongst all the other departments. Utilities have skyrocketed this past few months, like doubled, nearly tripled in some departments. So just for my requested number, I'd like to aim high, not to say that would be consistent with next year. I mean, for all we know, it could go back down just in summertime. But if we do aim high for the requested number that I have for utilities, I'd put $8,500 in.
What's it do?
I will get you a little bit of a number on it. Through January, it's been about 4,700. It could be about 8,200 for this year at the library. Yep, just a little bit. Phone and internet, $2,800. Repair and maintenance. This one that kind of has grown a little bit more in this year compared to previous years. This is just miscellaneous stuff that the DPW may purchase to fix doorknobs, keys, whatever may have you. I have about $3,000 in for that. Supplies, this is where Andrea does the bulk of her purchasing. So this is book purchases, print materials. I think you have some other online
audio,
services.
yeah, audio visual, but we also have online services called Canopy where patrons can stream movies. So, and that has grown so much. Yes, we should. From our website. Oh, at home. Yeah, so that has gotten really, 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 really popular. That and also Overdrive, which you can download ebooks and e-audiobooks. And that's a county service, but we also contribute to that. Every library in Saratoga County contributes towards that service, which is huge, especially during lockdown. Our numbers went up so much because we physically weren't open. So if you didn't want to buy books, that's how you had to do it. And it's very convenient for people that commute, to listen, or however.
And that'd be about 21,000. So new books, new services. We do pay some of them monthly, but just to refresh the books and the materials and the other. It's pretty consistent from years prior. Yep. Some other contractual numbers that we have is payment to the Southern Adirondack Library System, $10,000 based off of history. I'm sorry, 10,301 is what I have to be exact. And we do have a copier contract with the library at $1,500 for the year.
What do you get for 10,000?
So we get our circulation system, we get IT support, we get consultation, consultants right on staff if we ever need help with just about anything library related. We get workshops, we get continuing education, we get catalog services, so we don't have to do it ourselves. What else? Advocacy, I don't know, just lots and lots and lots of things. We couldn't run the library without that. We virtually could not run the library without their, just the circulation alone. Also our courier service, that's how we get books that people want that we don't own, or movies. We get that Monday through Friday, which is so popular. That way, we don't have to have every movie. We don't have to have every book. We can get it from elsewhere, as far as inlet, Long Lake, all different places.
They also do, have the internet here for this facility. And like you were mentioning earlier, the IT service.
IT services, we couldn't do it without them. Yeah, and for a lot of our patients, that's it. They don't have it at home. It's not a luxury for everyone.
Is internet an issue?
Slow, or what do you mean?
Well, if you were gonna do a virtual thing, didn't you say that this is about speed or?
Down here,
Yeah, okay.
there's that floor in between, which makes the Wi-Fi a little bit unreliable.
We had that issue a little bit more when we were doing the Facebook Live hybrid. I'm not sure about the Zoom. I haven't watched any of the recordings. So far, those are potentially good. The other option that we did potentially do is a Wi-Fi extender, see how that might work for us down here. Right.
But upstairs, not a problem. People come in and they tap into our Wi-Fi. They can even do it probably from the parking lot. I haven't tried personally, but they could, or sit out on our bench, when we're closed. We don't turn it off.
So total for contractual, I have $55,961. And overall for the library, I have $219,071.
So the biggest increase, so it's going from 173 projected to 219.
186 to 219.
I mean, you really
Oh,
look
yeah.
at projected, you look at it compared to what was budgeted.
Yeah.
It's a little under.
Yeah, projected.
But then the new number kind of.
So the biggest increase is from what?
Biggest increase could be from the equipment. It could just be the increase of utilities. Honestly, like I said, it's really skyrocketed. So as long as we can, get the requested money for utilities, so we don't have to pull from the future project, that probably increased about $2,000. Actually, just slightly over $2,300. Supply.
33,000.
We do have about 28,000 increase for the library staff as well.
How much?
28,000, about 28,000
Oh,
increase. Yep, and that's where that difference is comprised from. Yep.
Yep, that's not just for 10 cents.
No 10 cents, an increase in minimum wage. I anticipate hopefully no more than $1, but as well as increase for our salary staff.
Everything else will add it up in the end.
Yeah.
And they have to come back. In the first place.
Do you have any questions for me?
No, library is one of the best resources in the village.
I think so too.
And the improvements you've made already.
Just the beginning.
Yeah. But, it'll make a real difference. The place is beginning to look real.
All right. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Andrew.
very much.
Thank you. We'll keep working on that.
Five?
Okay. We're gonna go through this budget, and we're going to do equipment at the end. Okay, because equipment as in, and everybody got this sheet.
Actually,
Right.
Liz didn't, I have a
All right, so we'll hand that
I
out.
brought him in after we
Yeah, we're gonna get, because okay, that's an overall. It's a big area. So we're just gonna do salaries.
Yeah, so actually I can kind of go over the salaries all in one. I do have an allocation that is consistent with this current fiscal year that we're in to spread it across the multiple departments that we'll go through for all the other expenses. But in the salaries, I did want to kind of boost up overtime for the DPW. I found, last year we were kind of getting close to the salaried budgeted amount, so I didn't want to have to do that going forward, as well as we do have requirements for their contracts for an increase in salary for their union contract, and that is reflecting in these amounts. But overall, if you wanted to compare the budget for each department from this requested information for fiscal year 2021 to 2022 that we're in right now, the allocation has remained the same. I haven't seen urgent or an urgent need to redo the allocation that we have. So percentage based, it's pretty consistent. It's just the increase in the salaries and the increase of overtime. So if we don't have too many questions on the salary, I think we can go right into some of the requested equipment, and this does not include large equipment.
Well, one, just here on Central Garage is that because you didn't have, you're going from 39, but the year before it was 85.
Yeah,
What's
so
going on there?
so the year before for that, hold on, let me open up my worksheet that you're looking at.
First line.
But, I mean, it looks like you're breaking down personnel differently than 2021. Right?
Hold on, I'm sorry, I'm not.
No.
seeing-
No, that was actual, this was the budget, this was half of it.
Um, One second, because my numbers.
Well, I was assuming that these numbers below that top number are somehow contributing.
No, this is the salary.
I want to apologize for those numbers because those are not actually reflecting of the actual allocation. I actually have a lower amount in my worksheet here.
So the 2023
Yeah.
requested, what should that number be?
That number should actually be 42,366.60. Sorry about that, and it's probably going to be the same for all the other DPW ones. So I'll go over those numbers once we get to those departments.
Okay. so
Sorry, didn't mean to scare you there.
Yeah, because I mean, last year it was about 39. and
Yeah.
Now you're up to 42, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, yep,
Yeah,
I
okay.
didn't catch that before those went out.
Okay. And so,
And why was 2025 and then it went down? 2021 is 85,411.
Yep, so different allocation. For this fiscal year, we have the same allocation as we are for the requested fiscal year 2023. As well as in 2021, we did have the retirement of a long-time staff, which includes having to pay out for what they call post-employment benefits, such as, PTO and any other entitled payouts at retirement. So that was a large increase in 2021 as well, which we wouldn't have going forward.
so, and what in the central garage, what
Mhm.
positions do you have, or do you have parts of everybody's position?
You
don't have- An entire person assigned? You have
We do have a mechanic, but that mechanic also works in other departments, so
Right.
not their entire salary.
Salary
is
is
in that one.
allocated across, okay, all right. Okay, so that now looks like a more
Yes,
reasonable
sorry.
number.
That's one person or multiple people?
It's a part of a salary, one person.
Part of one.
Yep, correct.
Well, that's equipment, right?
We do have small equipment that smaller than the large equipment such as, vehicles, that if we wanted to touch up upon, we can do that.
Is
Just,
there any large, requested for the garage, or is it just smaller?
Not for some.
Central garage for, equipment, what we have in here, just based off of our conversation, we have a $2,000 floor jack. A Titan semi ramp, I'm assuming that's for larger equipment to get them a little higher, that is $1,000 approximately. A heavy duty diagnostic scanner, $8,500. And $1,800 for an air compressor.
So that's
In that equipment. And again, we're gonna push the larger equipment purchases to the end of.
so what's the total?
Total on that equipment is $13,600.
But, well, if that,
If it doesn't change based off of the bigger equipment. that
in other
we-
words, that's my question, is there any paper items that are needed?
No,
So it should stay.
Give or take, yeah. I mean, when you think of central garage, you kind of think of, I mean, you gotta think of mechanic, what's helping, you know, the village, for direct cost to central garage. I mean, a vehicle isn't necessarily associated with that, but a vehicle should be
That's fine.
associated with
It's
the
just-
department. So it shouldn't change too much even when we talk about the larger equipment.
Unless you, with the larger, equipment, so in some cases you're allocating between
Certain departments.
but most likely not central garage.
All right,
Not gonna use a vehicle for any part of that department, for that category.
are we gonna talk about building? Or-
Yep, we can talk about building improvements. Jeff, what do you have for that?
Roof repairs, just because we have leaks going on and, we're all hopeful for a new building at some point, but we've gotta maintain to keep it functioning. So, I mean, that's a real rough estimate. I haven't actually got roofing quotes at this point, just haven't had the opportunity to do that, but I can take some stabs at it, so. We actually have insurance.
Yep,
That'll
we
be
just got
this year.
10,317, I believe, that we recognize in the budget transfers
For
for.
windstorm damage. We're
Yep.
gonna put that together with this one to try to keep it.
So you, this plan.
We don't have a final number, so we're gonna need, you're saying there's 20?
Yep, he's requesting 20,000 for roof repairs,
And that's
All the-
under,
all for, building
Mhm.
improvement.
no, but I
building.
mean, all under this subcategory.
Correct, yeah.
So that's higher.
Yes.
Okay.
We can move on to contractual PE if you're ready for that. Okay, perfect.
That was 20,000, 10,000.
No,
No.
it's 10 plus 20.
Oh, okay.
Yep,
30
we already have
So you're showing 30,000.
30,000. If we can, in essence, 10 will be
We can, I mean.
within
I-
this year. I mean,
It
that's-
is gonna be
We're gonna
this
use
year.
the 10 with fiscal year we're in, that 20 is for next year's budget, so, better way to say it.
Oh, okay.
Right, so it's kind of why the 10's not in there. We have it, we have the damage, we have the money, we hope to fix it before June 1, or May 31st, to spend it. So,
What's the total under central garage?
We haven't gone to the contractual
Contractual,
yet.
yeah, we do all the CE.
We'll go there right now.
Looks like the budget was 950 and projected. Projected. But it's similar to what we.
So if you want to kind of go down the contractual real quick, utilities, again, they skyrocketed. I'm projecting about $8,000 for that next year. Phone and internet, $2,400. Repairs and maintenance, approximately $7,000. Supplies, $10,000. I have found, and you might have noticed from the budget transfers, there's been an increase in supplies this year, and that's mainly contributed to, a new mechanic, getting the tools that you need to work on things. So based off of that history, I would like a little higher number for supplies than we've had in previous years. Garbage, so we do have a monthly dumpster pickup.
Janitorials and supplies too also, or no?
Yep,
Janitorial
janitorial supplies.
Did you get a bunch of supplies when you got hired? Is that what you're saying this year?
He doesn't get a bunch, but if he needs a tool for a certain project, That's how it
He comes
generates.
with like a lot of mechanics, he has his own tool, if the village buys a particular tool that he wouldn't in his career, then we would buy that. So,
I'm just saying, you're new mechanic, new supplier, but if he got them this year, he wouldn't need them next year. But you're
Right.
saying he's gonna get them next year, he hasn't got
We can potentially lower that, and just with that in mind, but just based off of history, I'm aiming high here before we have to rein it back in.
and within supplies is janitorial
Correct.
supplies, and in essence, we are a central garage, so we supply that to the firehouses, the police station, the pool, the pavilion, park, toilet paper, paper towels, soap, all that stuff, that's all central garage, if you will, central supply house.
The garbage is for dumpster.
Dumpster pickup once a week for us, firehouses have their own bi-weekly.
Did you get that number?
No.
Oh, sorry, 2,904 for that, garbage pickup. And I also have uniform allowance for that one employee that I dedicate to central garage, and this is for their contract, $450. So the total for contractual, $30,754. Total overall for central garage is $106,420. And that is just about a $3,000 increase from the 2022 adopted.
So much lower.
Yes. We do have in our current year budget, salt shed. We have a diagnostic scanner. I didn't include that in my projected, because at that point it was unknown, but we did just order the diagnostic scanner for this fiscal year, so that does increase that projected. So again, those one-time expenses, if it's already planned in the works, I'd put it in my projected, but when I was doing the numbers, I didn't have that yet, so I left that out. It very well could, yep.
So you've got about an overall increase.
Yep, correct.
Okay. Not too trouble.
If we're ready to go on to the next department, street administration. Again, that is a partial salary. In that one, it's mainly part of supervisor salary.
It's just a percent.
Yes, and it's actually administration. So I believe this current year he might have had money and equipment for a computer. I can't see off the top of my head, but this year he's requesting no information directly to him. So that is the extent of that department. So $36,862 for the requested personnel services.
Well, that's, okay.
Different than what you have.
Well, yeah, I don't have anything.
Under street administration, it's still on the same page.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, yep.
Okay, is that number reflecting on your sheet? Because I know
Yeah.
central garage was different. Okay, perfect. All right, going on to street maintenance. So this is where the bulk of many expenses are for the DPW. Again, that first line, we have 100 and I actually have slightly different number than what's on the worksheet. 167,595 for that number. If that's changed just a little bit there for you.
Which number is that?
63 is.
Yeah, it was actually 67,595. Slightly different. Mhm.
Again, the projected is lower.
Yep, projected is lower. Again, when I did these numbers, I didn't believe we have much snow accumulation this year as previous years. There is no removal, but it's based off of an allocation of the overall salaries rather than a direct cost of, DPW is going out for snow on this date. So we're going to allocate exactly those hours to it. Overall, it's just an easier standard procedure to do this allocation versus tracking all hours and allocating it that way. The allocation that I do have is kind of in line with the percentage of how much time that department is in that, that person is in that department. We also have been keeping track of time this year, and we'll be double checking that to my allocation. So if we do need to make changes, but so far it's pretty in line with or how they are allocating.
The equipment here we can have later, or
We actually don't have any small equipment for this line, so if there is larger equipment, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, here, a part is contractual, a part is equipment. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's strictly equipment.
And then if you're ready to move on to contractual for street maintenance, one of the largest expenses here in this account is for paving. So this portion of paving would actually be the village portion, not the one, not the CHIPS portion that we get reimbursed for. Based off of previous years, we have $110,000 in there, but I know that it's been, a recent discussion lately. So if you wanted to boost that, lower it, talk about it.
A number that could.
I haven't really crunched numbers yet on, I just haven't had the opportunity to crunch numbers on the streets that we plan on taking.
This year, I believe we're at, I want to say I adjusted that number. CHIPS is higher, but that's if we get the extreme winter, I can't ever think of recovery, there we go. Yeah, so, right, but this is the actual village portion. So when we talk about the CHIPS a little bit later on, it's right after the street department. I put in 110, and that's aiming low, but if we are eligible for some of those extreme winter recovery, I don't think we'll have any rollers because we used it all this year. But I will be able to make a budget amendment to reflect revenue that we'll be taking in. But 110 is generally, minimum of what we're going to. But I haven't heard anything about that.
Not as of right now, they haven't talked about it.
I think in the overall program, they talked about increasing money.
NICOM was like, for lobbying for that, but nothing's predicted right now.
Usually, information on CHIPS we send out in the next month or two.
Sure, we'll get a letter soon.
Yeah, no, I was just wondering, have the money on that JA program. A lot of it's bridges and stuff.
So what are we putting in total?
Haven't even gotten that far. I was just touching upon the village portion of paving. So not CHIPS, I think you skipped the department on me. So, but in street maintenance, we do have a village portion of paving, and that I also have $110,000 in based off of what we've done in previous years. I think it was kind of a topic though this year when we went over. So if you're requesting to have more contingency, leave it where it is. Now's the time where I'd make that change.
Well, it went over because of the need for more.
Sure, unseen things until you mill streets. So it's somewhat of a guessing game to what it is. So probably more is better, but either that or I have to hold back on the street. So we were aggressive, did as many as we could and found a lot more problems.
One of the things for it
What are the other?
I kind of just want to go over paving first, but if we're all set with 110, I'll just keep moving on the contractual.
I'm trying to put it in the context of what is the total number.
Are we all set with the village portion of paving? Because I'll keep going on the number.
Well,
No,
I think
no.
we have.
Go ahead.
Well, we have, we really want to build something in, I think, if we
Well,
run into the same problem.
I think matching it is a good solid thing to stick with that. And, as far as any additional contingency, I think we need to get through budget before we we'll circle back.
We did go over, right? 50,000.
Right, if there's a lot of things like that.
We don't know if but the year before you didn't.
Right.
Yeah, sure. It could
You don't
happen.
see that,
but-
or- you have no idea.
That crystal ball is broken, sorry.
And there's always the option that you do one last street if you do run into something.
I thought the price.
Right, but just have to remember, if we take back a street, that we don't stay on the plan, the 20-year plan.
Didn't the prices go way up?
There was a small increase.
There was There's a few.
There's an increase, small increase in blacktop and asphalt concrete itself, but there's a large increase in subcontractors, milling service, paving service. So those have gone up, and here again, at the time, somewhat, it's an estimating thing. If you think it's gonna take 3 days to mill and 3 days to pave, and all of a sudden it becomes 3.5, and 3.5, it goes up in $10,000 lump. So, and it's, you know, I mean, it's either hold back a street or be aggressive and try, and that's what we did. So,
You don't think, given our experience this year, we can go up a little bit? I mean, just
sure we do, but I think that's what we're saying. We'll circle
Yeah.
back. If the whole budget, the whole big budget comes out good, throw another 20 or 30 or
Okay.
40,000. I think that's where we're headed, right?
Okay. I'll make a note, just to circle back once we get overall view of the budget here. Okay, so continuing on street maintenance contractual, $1,000 for utilities, it is pretty low, there's not really many direct costs for utilities, this is generally like street lighting. So that's what's incorporated in that. Phone and internet, $1,500. Fuel, again, this is where a lot of our vehicles, get allocated, especially for the fuel, $27,000. Again,
That's
fuel
the
has,
fuel?
yep, fuel has gone up a little bit recently, so that is, a lot more, encompassing of any potential increases in fuel.
How would you run your projections? There's some pretty wild projections about fuel costs.
Yes, that's just like with utilities, I'm aiming high, and if we have to rein in, we will. Then we have repair and maintenance, again, we have all these vehicles, they break a lot, I have 70,000 for that, again, I'm aiming high. But it is based off of history, so it's pretty in line with that.
That's you, yeah.
Sure. Any, for both vehicles and other repairs that we do, a lot of it falls under street.
And that's repair of just DPW equipment or repair of?
Yes, yeah, the other, fire and police carry their own.
Yep.
Okay,
They don't pay for labor, but yeah, they pay for their own
I
parts.
know you've been talking about replacing equipment, but just in focusing on this line, if we had up-to-date equipment with that line.
Most likely, yes.
Oh, yeah.
What was it last?
Sure, but we're talking about a lot of equipment before you make that. I mean, it will, but you know.
No, because I want to see, you know, I
Sure.
mean, one of the things you look at is to, you know, do you replace the equipment, how much is it cost?
Never analyze those, pay right now, save money. Parts are crazy.
Last year was about 68,000
Oh,
repair and
really?
maintenance,
Wow.
yep,
I mean,
pretty
it seems
consistent.
like a pretty.
It's very large, a lot of, repairing, hoses, it really adds up, quite frequently.
Yeah, it seems like a lot, but when I was in Warren County, we had a paver that was 15 years old and had a 10-year lifespan. It was $3,000 a year. So that one.
Yeah.
What do you?
New paver,
$250,000,
So
maybe $500,000. I don't have one.
30,000 at it, if you don't want to buy a new. Okay, I get it.
Okay, supplies, $10,000. There was requested for, small tools such as leaf blowers, weed whackers, $1,000 would probably encompass all of that. Signage, if you want to talk about that,
That's
Jeff,
both,
$3,000.
Right, some construction signs, temporary construction signs, and then it's street signs, stop signs, speed limit signs, that type of thing, signpost breakaways. So, we're getting a lot of questions and feedback about, keeping our signage up. So we've got a lot of plans to do a lot of this year. Nothing.
I don't think so.
Yeah. I mean, we were talking about, potentially adding some signs on to some of the streets that have, speeders and the traffic. That's just me, I don't have.
Increase it?
Well, if we can, but to improve.
Sure, some of that's in there, here again, without doing a complete story, that's
Right.
cool, that'll help us.
What kind of sign?
The ones that, looking at the ones that put in the middle of the road, if we really broaden the stripe and, pedestrian crossing, that would be a shorter term,
Right.
less expensive solution to try to get the traffic to slow down
Yeah,
before.
it's just a seasonal.
Yeah, but, you know, that's when it's not a long-term solution, but there's been a lot of, where's, like, you know, cycling, is that in this account?
That's it, yeah,
Yep.
repair.
I don't know where to bring this up, maybe it's here.
I'm sorry, it's repair and so that's in the 70,000?
That will be included in the total I gave you for contractual. I'm just
Okay,
about done
okay.
with this one, but
Okay,
you had
all right.
something to say?
Well, it could belong here potentially, but, throwing around this idea of one of those flashing crosswalks outside of Doubleday or near Doubleday to help people cross Route 50. Apparently, they do use that. They do cross to get to Stewart's frequently, but others also get a phone call or an email from one whose kid goes to school and has to cross 50 also, and 50 for them, you know, to say that. So that could be
New York State DOT though, so
that's Sean. Yeah, so Sean was saying that, you know, if we don't meet certain volume criteria, we, in theory, we could still put it in, it would be our expense versus the DOT expense. And actually, I have an email in to see if they could survey, rather than see how many use, you know, cross. Anecdotally, I was told a lot of people every morning go over to Stewart's to get their lottery tickets. But anyway, it is, I think it is, to have a sort of shortcut, that you don't have to go down to East High or up to Hannaford, a lot of people in between them.
The threshold for where DOT would install it, maintain it, is 20 pedestrian crossings.
We probably don't have that.
But children count.
So I don't know what the volume is in, what time of, it wouldn't be hour after hour, but maybe some hour where there's 20 people. Does it happen every 1 hour day?
Is that
There
over
is
24
one-
hours?
1 hour in a day.
Oh,
That
that
has
might
20.
be.
I hear me now.
Theoretically during school, maybe.
Well,
Yeah, school.
I mean, if you travel there, when schools are out, there are a lot of kids walking in the road. You know,
Right,
there
and
is
you-
no
you could-
sidewalk.
Theoretically take, like, if somebody, let's say they cross 50 feet up the road, cross on the other side of Stewart's, and cross, you can aggregate.
Right, because they hopefully. So Sean, you were saying like,
Well, if you went solar, each unit, everything's going up, say 4,000.
these are the flashing,
It's called an RFP, which is a rectangular rapid flashing beacon. They have a solar panel, there's a button on them to activate them, and they have strobing, and there's also a pedestrian symbol for the downward arrow. Obviously, crosswalk striking and ADA compliant program is required.
Also at Doubleday, I'm not sure where the end of there, it's actually a road.
No offense, do we want to go through all those roads?
Well,
Do
no,
you want
I
to
mean,
discuss them now? I don't know. if you-
I would just, as a rough budget thing, not that we have to go into all the details, but just, like an 8,000, I don't know the revenue side, so I don't know. But, I'd support if we could, support it.
We can put it in, this is just requested information, I can put in $8,000 for the crosswalk, for the
You can put more
RFP.
in that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's more upwards of 50 days.
Oh,
15 to
really?
18,
Ah.
okay.
I think we
Told me
should try to.
Or
No, I think we, you know, need to contact DOT and see what it's gonna take for the measurement and, you know, because
all you have to do is call up traffic and safety and say that you think there should be one there, and they will send in.
Right. So the trick is to tell them you should show up at this hour versus some other.
Well, you just tell them that there's a lot of schools. So then,
they're more likely to be out on the
Safety and mobility.
Yeah, I think we need to definitely assess. I mean, you've got almost 100 seniors.
We just have to cross at the same time.
That's what we do.
We organize it behind.
We always say, there's free coffee.
Only between 9 and 9:15. Now, the other possibility is it is in the town of Ballston, and maybe the town of Ballston would share some of that cost. So,
That's if DOT doesn't.
doesn't
Do it.
require, right.
Okay.
All right,
So-
we'll do one step at a time.
I'll put in the 15,000 just so I can give you those numbers all together with the other numbers that I'm getting. And we'll see where we're at once we get. Overall.
With some fair grant quantification.
No, that is,
Okay.
but then we put it into those.
Correct, and all that is there's componentry equipment. You replace the LED, the push button, you replace.
Ideally, we'd like to.
So we'll try to get it through.
Okay, just other contractual expenses for here, 5,000 in training, as I kind of touched upon, court. We're trying to put in a bigger budget for training, licensing, anything that, majority of streets is comprised of the 5, DPW staff, so that's $1,000 each, so 5,000 total for training.
Newer guys,
Yes, yeah, we're not quite sure how that, there's a new rule that's being tossed around that, in order to receive your CDL license, it's $4,000 per person, so.
What was it?
Sure.
Really?
Yeah. So we're not really sure how that's shaking out, you know. People like Nikon are looking at seeing if we could train people in less than the blow, but it's actually, I think, the feds, so, but there's a lot of things that'll have to go into that. So if you pay for that for someone, you know, how you're gonna retain someone, those types of things, you know, I mean, it's just gonna be a lot stickier than it seems. No.
We have a randomized drug testing system?
Do we, yeah, we're, if you have CDL, you're in, yeah, state ran up, yeah, we are. We pay whatever bills it are for the testing, so hospital bills, whatever it's called.
And just the last expense I have for contractual for street maintenance is uniform allowance, again, per their contract, $3,150. So total for contractual, make sure that has that 15,000 that we requested in there, $247,650. A total for street maintenance of $415,245. Let
but
me
that,
see. Yeah, 15,000 I put in for that, just for a couple of questions.
So that's less than what's projected this year.
yeah, but look at the budget.
Yeah, they could have been large equipment purchases that I just haven't happened yet, at the time of my numbers.
So that's 247,650 and 415,245.
Yep. Correct.
Well, you gave us a total, but is there a difference in this department?
There very well could be, seeing that streets encompasses a lot of larger equipment.
55 here, so
Right,
it's almost, shouldn't be doing total yet.
right. I mean, personally, I don't even have the numbers in until we kind of discuss the overall, equipment that we'll talk about at the end. But seeing that we can allocate you know, most of the equipment to, a few departments, I think we figured it'd be better to speak about it at the end of going through
Yeah,
all the
no,
direct costs.
It's more bottom
Yeah,
line.
yep,
415, 249.
Right. So
yep. Large equipment. We didn't have any smaller equipment on this one, but. Okay. Yep, tips we kind of touched upon. Like I said, I budget for what I can anticipate, and that's 110. If we get extreme winter recovery, I will do a budget amendment to increase revenue, to increase expenses, but that's when once we get, information on the letter from.
Getting that one.
Usually it's dated in March, sometimes a little bit later, sometimes, honestly, at this point, I can't put a timeline on it. Yep, street cleaning, very little, I believe that you just dedicate, one of your guys
Part of-
for,
Part
Part
of
of-
one's salary, right?
Yep. Yep.
Just a portion of it.
As far as other stuff.
I actually have a different number in there again, I'm sorry, I didn't look over the worksheets before I sent them out, for the salaries, $7,473. If you wanted to update that number. Under contractual for street cleanings, we encompass, supplies, brooms, sweepers, for $1,400. Under contractual there.
And no equipment.
Nope, no equipment.
You'd get a new street.
Unless we might be thinking of a leaf picker, but that's new.
Oh, leave it.
Yes.
So total for street cleaning, overall budget, $8,873. So again, sorry for the personnel, being an incorrect number. That number that I actually have is $70,012, not that $68,039 that you had.
And that's also an allocation.
Yep,
70,000 what?
$12.
Includes overtime.
Yep.
Did you change over something at all? Or you basically?
I did increase them from what I had for this fiscal year, and that was just based off of being very close, with fiscal year 2021. So, if at all that I can prevent it, I'd rather try to budget for it rather than pull from a project. Again, I'm not sure where the overall budget is and what your intentions are, so it might have to change, but, I'm trying to aim high before we,
No, I mean, this
bring
is
it back
the
in.
first round.
Yep.
This is the wish.
Yeah, this is just request, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's not where we're gonna end up.
So there's no small equipment that we requested.
Did we get a new?
Hasn't shipped yet.
No tractor.
Tractor with a blower, CAD, salter, and stuff. This process in December and then January,
So
and then February.
We bought it
In the country, but still not assembled yet. It hasn't shipped yet.
it's the same place as our pump. Yeah.
And our backup.
No, but that's one reason we don't need any. Have one that's.
Right.
I do want to just talk about contractual, for, snow removal just quickly. Repair and maintenance is just, the maintenance, wear and tear, $1,000. Supplies, there's new shovels, $250. And in this department, we do have the cost of salt. We've been lucky that salt has remained rather consistent over the last 3 or 4 years. So that consistent number that I have for this, next year is $45,000. That is a lot of salt.
And we get it.
We buy it directly, the county houses it. We buy it directly. I order it, we pay it. So
So
that's what they use in the storm.
So for contractual for snow removal, that's $46,250. And overall for the snow removal budget, department budget is $116,262.
Supplies, et cetera, down.
Yeah, we had some plow edges in this fiscal year that we had for about $3,000. That's pending on a purchase for Jeff, but we didn't need them 2 years in a row. So
That's under contractual.
that was just what caused the reduction of that department. Water, okay. Next on your department is water, am I correct? I have a slightly different sheet than you, so I'm just trying to make sure we're going in order for you. Okay, water.
Water administration.
Perfect. So water administration, again, when we're thinking administration, it is supervisor, and this is a part of his salary. Again, no direct cost for him this year. So there is no contractual for that. Yep, 18,431. Perfect. Yep, this does have lots of costs associated with it. I just want to go over the personnel, make sure that I have the same number as you guys. I have 199,226. Is that different? Okay, so yeah, just
Give it again.
199,226. Yep. We have 3 guys in dedicated who are water licensed, but it is an allocation based off of part of their salary, because again, they're not just in the water department.
And it's always been allocations, but we're actually starting to track water, so our allocations are closer to where they should be.
So,
We don't track every hour, but we track product
Yeah.
water and
so
sewer.
is some of these numbers up because the allocation?
No, the allocation's similar to our current year that we're in. It's just budgeting for, potential of more overtime and the increase based off of their union contract. Yep.
What was the union?
2.5%. As well as, some increases in other,
Longevity. All right. Is this small equipment?
but we do have some small equipment that was requested. A new dump truck box, 40,000. I believe that is the same as a request that we had for this year, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Well,
small equipment.
that's just a piece of it.
And how old is the dump?
24 years old, but
But you can,
24 years old.
but you can take the box.
box and put it on another
I'll
chassis.
put it on another
Right,
chassis.
so we did one box last year, same thing, the chassis guys. The boxes don't go with the chassis. So.
Okay, that's good, 'cause you don't want to.
And
Buy
we'll
a
also
new
talk
one.
about large equipment, so it'll all come together.
Okay, but the truck box.
Right, it's a way to keep a truck running, kind of a thing, so.
Other equipment would be actually a new alarm system. Jeff, I know you've had a lot of issues with it since you maybe you can talk
We're
about
we're
that.
looking to go to, our alarm system is phone-based lines, we're gonna go to radio read, so it's more reliable. Less problems, more secure, it's kind of what banks use as opposed to, phone line goes down, your alarm goes down. So your phone lines go down, you don't get an alarm that's telling you something's going on. So we've already gone to radio read on one building, we need to go on 3 other buildings.
Station.
That's right, so the radio read, right.
$4,000.
Okay. More like $1.5 million.
Yeah.
I think that-
The last for equipment is a rubber tire backhoe. In this fiscal, $15,000 for that. In this fiscal year, we had the exact same amount budgeted. It's actually for a municipal lease. We have yet to get it. We have yet to sign a contract, but this would be the yearly payment for it for next year. So for total for equipment for the water transmission and distribution would be $59,000.
Backhoe is being for 15,000.
Yep, I have yet to get any contracts, so,
Why your projected is so low. Yeah.
right, we haven't even got the contract to be able to reserve those funds yet. So, moving on to the building improvements, we don't have any for water department here. And then going down to contractual, I'll start listing those off for you all. Alarm and monitoring, this is a monthly fee that we have, $2,070. We do have yearly testing, I always mispronounce it,
Kestner.
Kestner,
Yeah.
$4,000. Utilities, this one's a very large increase because the water, the pump stations use a lot of electricity. $100,000 for utilities. Again, that's aiming high, but it's consistent with kind of how the trend's going for this year.
That's just for electricity.
We did a,
This one actually, there's terminology for these high usage accounts, and I can't think of it off the top of my head. But basically, they hit you twice as hard for these high usage accounts.
Yeah, but what are they, like, three-phase pumps?
Yeah,
Yeah.
some are two-phase, some are three. It's a lot to run them, pull the water out, and move water.
Do we use, I don't know, is solar power is more stable, price wise?
I don't know too much about solar powered. We are associated with a company that is trying to get us into not having solar panels, but going to a solar farm. And the savings to that, I want to say was like 2%. But it wouldn't qualify for these accounts because they're too large of, accounts that use energy. Yeah.
Census scale for these pumps, it would be a couple football fields full of solar. If you had sun, perfect sun plug up.
Yeah, can you sell it more for houses?
Yep. Then phone and internet, $6,000. Fuel, $5,000. Repairs and maintenance, $50,000. Yes, it
Sure.
is.
Repair plants and pipe for brakes. And that's it.
so that's our, when we have a one break.
Sure.
So that could be over time, if we replace what needs replacing.
We do have the need for new tires for the loader, $5,200 approximately. New tires for the dump truck, $2,000. New tires for the pickup truck, $2,800. And cutting edges,
Those are for our loaders.
and that is $2,000. Some supplies for the water department, we have $40,000. This is, the chemicals that we're using to treat the water, just other miscellaneous supplies such as paper, computer devices. I mean, it's all encompassing in that one. Again, per our union contracts, we have $900 for uniform allowance. And then we have some of our, special items that we had budgeted for this year and we're kind of continuing for next year. Reworking well 1 through 3, approximately $25,000. Jeff, I'm going to just list them out and then you can explain on that.
Sure. Somebody has a question asked, but I mean,
That's
that's it.
to,
It's under contractual.
Yep,
Yeah,
correct.
yep, it's to redevelop a well.
that's to. what is it, we do the sonic type of thing,
Mhm.
and then open it up.
Focus on it.
But we had it in this. So we didn't do it.
Yep. Right.
I'm trying to think, we made the decision to, I think this was, yep, instead of making that move, wait to make sure that that's the direction we want to go and move that,
Okay,
move,
and
use that money towards that.
Do we
Yep.
have enough from the engineer at this point? Because he gave us a preliminary report to determine whether it makes sense to do this now.
I don't remember, to be honest with you.
Well,
I'd have to call.
evaluation, there was a slight drop in the output from the originally reported output, so it sounds like we certainly be doing that here. I mean, it is preventive maintenance, treatment, or something.
Yeah, so that's why we allocated at least one. So, yeah.
Fire hydrants, $15,000. They're approximately 2,500 apiece, so that's about 6 of them.
Yeah, I know, this year, did we replace it?
We still have more to put in. We replaced some. We still have some on the ground. We'll put in the spring before the year ends.
That's what we usually do
Yeah, try
every
to
year.
do 6,
I would do that every year.
How many do we have?
400 plus.
Oh, my God, really?
Mhm.
Then we have water valves, $3,500. Water meters, 19,500. These are just for the meters that are failing, broken, so on and so forth.
That's enough on those? Or are these gonna continue to?
Well, we're 2,400 connections, rotating. Maybe we've had a big push in the last 2 or 3 years. We've done 200 or 300, something like that. So,
Right.
yeah.
So how
It
many
might-
would this be?
Divide that by $50 or something, and
It could potentially do 130, but
that would be a good number. So, we usually average 40 to 50, then if they push, doing a couple, 300 a year, and now we're getting better at it. And if we were doing 100 plus a year, we'd be moving in the right direction.
and then I have engineering costs, engineering fees, 25,000. I have increased this from last year, another $4,000 or so. And then I do have 7,500 for water tank inspections.
We probably should increase that to 9,000. I mean, that was an estimate at 2,500. I'm thinking 3,000 per tank is probably a more realistic number.
Okay.
So, that would make a break, so.
And that's something.
We have to do it every 5. We're due for.
Can we go back and talking about redeveloping wells 1 to 3?
Reworking.
Reworking. So what about 4A? Now, I know 4A and 4B are very close together, like in the same building.
And that number isn't 1, 2, and 3. When it's 1 through 3, it's either 1 or 3. So we could choose a different number well if that's what we do. Once we analyze all 5 wells, decide which one needs to be redeveloped at about $25,000.
So it's, and we'll redo, so we're gonna redevelop, rework too.
No, one.
1 at
No.
25,000.
One.
1 for each.
25,000.
Right.
One.
Right, we'll make the
So-
decision at the time which one.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah,
Then we have a
I mean,
total of,
5.
so 5 years kind of cycle.
Right, and they don't need to be reworked every year. It's just, as it's determined, so.
And they can do assessment and evaluation.
Right.
Right.
Okay, so total for contractual, 316,970.
160,907.
Yep. Overall for water and transmission and distribution department is $575,196, and that is nearly $100,000 increase from this current budgeted year.
Yeah, most of that.
Honestly, most of it's in utilities.
How much is it
35,000 increase in utilities from what we had budgeted for this current year. And again, we're right on trend to get to 100,000 this year, based off of current utility costs.
So there's that, there's redeveloping well.
Reworking the well is consistent with last year, so that's not an increase. We do have increase in engineering fees. We do have the water tank inspections that we had for that $9,000. We'd also have a higher repair and maintenance budget, approximately $15,000. So just these little expenses are adding up to that $100,000 increase.
Yeah, the 2 pumps that we're waiting on, are they higher capacity? Pumps that are nice?
No, that's the same.
Okay. Yeah, but I just wanted, because that would be another factor. Bigger
Yes.
pumps, more electric.
No, same.
And that's
Something to look for.
sufficient to pump what we need to have pumps.
Sure.
I mean, I'm thinking future, if we expand the system.
Too late now, they're on the way.
No, I'm
Yeah, I mean, in essence, to take the water from the transit, at Lowell Street, the water comes down the transmission main, and those pumps fill the two tanks, John Street tank and Colonial, which is where the villa gets pressure. So those pumps to the size they need to be, take that water and fill those tanks. So yeah, you don't need to fill them faster, you don't need to fill them differently unless there's some major increase in water usage.
Yeah.
You wouldn't change the size unless there again, and what we're gonna do a study, we may move tanks or relocate tanks, change pump, that'll all be done in that end. And
Yeah, based
analyze
on our
it.
conversation with the hydrogeologist, when they were doing their testing, they actually had to coordinate with that slow down the pump rate so they could get accurate readings. Because the pump so fast, it's difficult to get the readings for the evaluation stuff. So there isn't a problem with pump capacity.
No, I was just thinking if, you know, for expanding the system, if there's demand outside the village, you know, how do we?
Yeah, it's not, in layman's terms, it's not within those pumps we're talking about. There's pumps in the well field and there's pumps
Okay,
transferring the pumps to get the water into the tank.
so
So it
these are pumps,
fills the tanks, right?
you have to be patient. Some of this.
Yeah, no, like that.
Well,
And here again, these pumps, we went to RFP, went to bid, whatever you want to call it. We selected the contractor, he ordered the pumps, and this chain, this whatever delay in across the country type of a thing. So
How long did it?
I never really did that. So I mean, I could look back at the wall. I think those were 92, I think. Yeah, 92. Yeah, so they, they're long ones. So. And here again, this contract, once the pumps are in this contract, I mean, the contractor's estimating it's a week plus to get these two pumps. He's waiting with men at home. They can't, this guy is waiting on supplies across the country. So.
Yeah.
Right now, ductile iron pipe is 11-month waiting time. If you were to order a large ductile iron pipe for like a housing development like going on Rollins Street, you would order that same quantity of pipe, there's 11-month waiting time.
Yeah, that's also ordering signal poles.
Everything's flowing now.
Just crazy.
Perfect. All right, sewer. The first one we have is the sanitary sewer, and actually this is administration again, part of supervisor's salary here. I want to just make sure that I have the same number you have there, $7,372.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. Some of them changed, some of them didn't. No other direct cost in equipment or contractual for that department. Going on to sewer maintenance. So this is what you think of when you're thinking of sewer. What comes in, let's go out. So personnel services, 112,267.
No,
Okay.
so
that doesn't change.
112,
Yep, 267. Okay. No small equipment for this department. For building improvement, though, we do have requests for $40,000 for sewage station pumps.
Sewer pump station. Yeah.
No, how much?
40,000.
That's not under CE. So
Building improvement.
Oh, that's a-
You might not have it because we haven't had any building improvement actually for this department.
we
so-
don't have it there, so it's 40,000 for what?
Replacing the sewer pump station. We only have one sewer pump station.
New account. The account actually would be G-8120-002-07. It's considered building improvement.
And it's 40,
40,000 even.
so that's to fix the building.
It's, it's an underground pump station, prefabricated pump station. So
Okay.
Colonial Hills annexed in the village. And we do maintenance and upgrades. So.
That's added in. And then we can go over.
We're ready to go to contractual. $1,500 for utilities. $900 for phone and internet. Ready? $12,000 for repairs and maintenance. $3,000 for manhole rehab. This was a new requested item.
It's mostly we're putting framing covers for manholes. To kind of cover that in streets, and it really is part of the sanitary system.
Did you cover the, on the corner of Ballston and West Pine?
Yeah.
They just cover it right now.
Yeah, not a great idea, but on the other hand, for us to fix it is a lot more complicated than people think. So you just stop all the traffic, go down 67 and go raise the manhole covers. So
That's hard to do.
yeah, sure it is. Yeah. Traffic control and
Right.
so we're aware of the problem. We're going to address it. There's just not enough time and manpower to do it. So DOT didn't ask me, paved over. So if I have the sewer back up and taking a jackhammer to get covered, it's not a good thing, but it's what they did. So, and I don't need to make an enemy with them right now. I'll wait this spring. So.
The people around are happy that.
As long as the sewer doesn't back up and I have to jackhammer the blacktop off to get the cover off on the sewer, it's still in the basement. So it's not an easy situation. You know, if that's on a side street, to fix a manhole cover, it's an easy thing in the middle of Route 67 on the side streets. So, I mean, DOT paved 67 a few years ago, so at the time, everything was okay, but something's changed. Good time to address it this past summer, this past fall.
Other contractual expenses, manholes, the actual item there, $1,500. And this current fiscal year, we had EPG grant match for $6,000, and we continue to have that grant match again for this year for any other potential sewer grants that there might be. We don't have any intention right now, but we do wanted to maintain a $6,000 budgeted amount in case there is a grant that we would need to have a match for. Nothing yet. No, nothing yet. We're just, bringing that budgeted amount over. Yeah. Yep. Correct.
Well, this is for sure, but, I mentioned that, including the replacement of one set of pipes, they combined it with doing all the pipes, the sewer and the water, and because it was PVC on both sides. So that could be.
But there's a potential there might be a partial match, so that's why Julie is saying.
Oh, yeah, no,
Yep,
I
that's
see,
why-
but
yep,
I'm
yep.
just
Oh, yeah.
putting out there with some of, after we get the feasibility study, we may want to replace both sets. of
Oh,
pipes.
sure. That's always on our mind.
So do we still need to do a sewer study?
I don't know, I think we need to talk to the engineers, because it depends on,
No, I
we
think
only
we still
have-
need to do a study, because that's in essence, they're gonna
yeah.
get a grant for some section of town, and when that be that, we need to still study the entire system. So do some
Sure.
T-being, yeah.
Yeah.
There
There was a grant applied for twice, right, 2 years in a row, we didn't get it. So should we just budget for that now? Do we know how much?
Well, I mean, all we have to do is update the new grant, and that would probably not be very much money, because it's already been written. Probably want to first take a look at it and find it, put it in. So I think,
We're talking, we're doing video, open, all the sewer lines. That's a good bit left too, right?
I don't think it's, what we put in for was not all. So I think we'll need to discuss with them. Are they gonna recommend that we do the whole system? That's not too much. Do we know where our troubles have been and let's start
I
there?
think that's the grant we were trying to apply for, at least to go, at least examine the trouble.
Yeah, that's what it was. It wasn't the whole system. And,
You remember how much that grant was?
That's what we're trying to get.
yeah, I think we should go for the EFG grant this year. But I don't think, I'm trying to remember.
There was on that grant
Yeah,
that we
that's what
applied
the
for
six
before, that's what the six was.
Okay,
Yeah,
so let's keep that in there.
Right.
All right.
Okay.
We want, so we're not adding in the sewer grant cost now.
Well, yeah, we're leaving the six.
No. Oh, because we're gonna go for the granting, we're not gonna just pay for it.
No, we're not gonna. No.
I guess now that we did that other study where our hardship community is more likely to get this grant.
Maybe third time's a charm.
Right.
Yeah. No, EFG is very much focused, well, all these. So
We have a
now
better
that we
chance
have,
now.
okay, and it's our third time around, so
Did she even apply for that?
we'll get a look at it.
They did the original.
So Jason-
Well,
Jason
Joe
did-
Lovell,
develop
I mean,
it.
oh, and have Laverne, not having Laverne.
I think we could have the birds take a look at it.
Well,
Okay, are we on that?
Yeah,
Okay.
please.
we already have.
yeah,
Whatever.
let's get a contract, okay?
Okay, so contractual total is $27,900. And total for that department is $180,167.
You've got all these numbers,
I do, yes. I do.
so it might be, would be nice if you just send us the.
Yeah, it's probably easier than us scribbling everything.
Yeah,
out.
well, I mean, yeah, just to have.
What we'll put into the next round, we'll put in what we have, okay?
So obviously
And
the
then we'll
increase is,
It's from, obviously, there's some discrepancies, but yeah.
yep, increase, significant increase for that is that, sewage station, 40,000. And then I believe the last department we have here is for storm sewage, storm drainage, another name for it.
Don't have any personality allocated to that?
We do not.
Do we have people working on personal storage?
Sure. Just some allocation.
No, I
I mean, there hasn't been significant. Like I said, we are doing that time tracking to see where time is, so we can make a small adjustment if need be.
no equipment?
We don't have any small equipment that was requested, for that. Under contractual, we do have 12,000 for grates and frames. 1,000
So
for,
great frames and some supplies.
right, because the individual cost is underneath the equipment threshold. $1,000 for supplies. And we did put in $10,000 for, engineering costs. Potential engineering costs.
Is that to do evaluation?
Look
or-
at things and keep our MS4 up to date.
Well, that's also a good question. Do we have any place else in the whole DPW budget where we have engineering costs, or do we put that in?
If it's not related to water, sewer, or storm, in this instance, then we do have an engineering line under the general fund.
Okay,
That we can
Okay.
associate other.
But you mentioned, look at a building. or-
right.
Yeah, there would not be,
Issue with-
correct,
Yeah,
exactly,
obviously.
yep.
No, we want-
So just to go over, those total is 23,000 for the storm sewage contractual, which is also the same as the overall department there.
And the projected is 47. That was.
Correct.
The budgeted amount
I
was,
believe we had,
budgeted amount was only 15,000. 47, is that correct?
yes, we did have, the storm sewer grant that we have, Saratoga Avenue that we're wrapping up,
Oh,
that
yeah,
did
yeah.
come out of that department. That's why it is a little bit
I
higher.
can't think of what
Yeah.
it was. Must have-
I couldn't think
I
of the
guess I
name.
want
of
to
it.
forget about it.
Or almost done with that grant.
So the total is.
Yep, correct.
You want to go last page? Except we have.
9:10.
9:10. Okay, one last question, and it means all of these personnel services, you have one open position, right?
Yes,
Okay, all right,
open labor position.
okay, right, okay. All right. So we're going to talk now about equipment, big equipment, so, this is what we have, the sheet that just gave you, which, just maybe you can go over it, the vehicle, let's just go over the top areas, and then we're gonna talk about what our plan is, what Jeff will talk a little bit about what he's suggesting that we might do.
So want me to just run down roughly the equipment and then the
Yeah.
years and then talk new after that? So-
Yeah.
Yeah, so first category right there is obviously dump trucks, 6 dump trucks that we have. You can see the years and type of mileage that's on those. Well, because of those 6 vehicles, only 4 of them we bought brand new. Truck 14, the last one on the list, is the last new truck we bought. We call it the new truck, it's 8 years old. That's the only truck we've purchased new in my 15 years here. So, truck 6A and 6AA were both bought used, on kind of an emergency basis. So, truck 1 and 4, the 98 Sterling twins, here again, were bought together 24 years ago. Truck 3 is 29 years old. That could be older than that. That's actually 2 trucks put
So
together.
the 29 years, you said some of these were bought used, you have.
Right. The truck 3 was bought brand new 29 years ago.
Okay.
Well, it's actually 2 trucks that are 29 and 30 years old put together, a chassis from one.
Okay.
It's surface well. It needs to change, so.
29 years.
So just sticking with the categories, the next truck down is what we call the truck, the back truck, the sewer back truck. It's actually what we use to jet sewers out when cleaning out clogs in the sewer system, but as a vacuum system also, used for cleaning catch basins. We use it more in what we kind of call hydro excavation, where when we get close to a water main. In the olden days, if we take a water main, we'd have to underdig the main, put in a pump, pull the water away from the hole in order for guys to get in there and repair it. Well, now when we get close to a pipe, or if we're passing past a gas main while we go, we wash away the soil and vacuum it out. So we bought that used in a county bid. We were very fortunate, very lucky when we bought it for $25,000. So if you were to try to buy a used back truck these days, you'd pay $250,000. So, but we use that truck probably 4 out of 5 days a week at this rate. So we use it constantly. So, yeah, it's a pricey truck. So, yep. Next category is kind of our 2 loaders. John Deere. Actually, we bought that loader used. The Hyundai was bought 21 years ago new. We had an older John Deere than that we actually sold and then replaced this with this used 2007. I don't know, feels like 2 years ago, probably was 5 years ago. I don't know, it kind of meshes together for me. Backhoe is actually, that is what we've already ordered a backhoe, but that's, December delivery and January. Now we're saying late March or April, same thing. Yeah.
So
But that is planned to be replaced. So we are trading in our old backhoe. We need to keep it running. So the trade-in along with the kind of the lease program will get us a new rotary backhoe, replace this 17-year-old backhoe.
So we'll need one.
Yeah, we only need one rubber tire backhoe and access for what we call digging, sewer and water. So actually the backhoe is showing. Street sweeper is 29 years old. We really can't buy parts for that any longer. Grader is something that we don't use that often. Typically for us, the grader road is pretty unusual. We used to use it more in snow plowing, but it's kind of taken out of the routine. We used to put a wing on it and plow. We own that with the town of Ballston, so they used to use it in the summer because they're more rural and grading roads. We used to use it for plowing, but we don't use it for plowing. We use it for grading, and they use it for a little bit of grading. So we do own that. After that is our long list of pickup trucks. The one green water truck 2007, which we thought we had an issue with, but we're trying to resurrect actually. But that's the only new pickup truck we bought of that entire list. Every other truck has been purchased used. I'm driving the 2007 White Ranger. We bought that 7 or 8 years ago for $7,000. That's what I drive every day. So.
What's your feeling on, I mean, you look at cars and everything else, new, versus sort of used but not used.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as the economics along with the value of having brand new.
Well, obviously we're making the used thing work because we haven't bought a new pickup truck since
Yeah, I know, we make it
2007.
work, but what's the plus and minus that used you pay more in repair?
And here again, now that the price of used is so high, you're not going to get, that Ranger that I bought for $7,000 7 or 8 years ago is now $15,000 vehicle.
So there's not as much differential.
Yeah,
So
there's
you
not.
should be
So in
where
the
you should be.
proposal, which we're about to talk about, I'm asking for a new pickup truck. So
You have
Okay.
7 trucks?
Right.
Now, you have,
more than, I mean, yes, but we've kind of acquired and were bottom used. They're still serving us. So, we wouldn't gain a lot by getting rid of them. If we get a new truck, we'll probably do that. The one F-150 flower truck is strictly has a water tank in, and the flower people use that in the summertime. That's the only time we use that truck. So, and even that's probably outlived its life. So,
2,500. Do they do any plowing? Do you ever put plow on?
oh yeah, both of those, the F-250s have plows. But we've had an issue with what we call the green water truck was the only new one we bought. We haven't been able to use that to plow this year.
So 350 be a better plow.
We got a pretty good handle on that. I don't think it's necessary, but we're going to look at options of bigger pickup trucks versus smaller dump truck type of things. So, and then the last item is a tractor, which actually is being replaced with trading in our New Holland tractor, and that's the tractor snow blower that we've been waiting on since we ordered it last June, which was December, then January, February. And we won't see it this snow season. So what we're proposing is a new, here, let's take one of those. So the new large equipment, I can give you folks one. I have extra copies here, so. Yeah, I mean, it's just on this link, so. So what we're proposing is purchasing new equipment. We're never going to get ahead at buying one piece of equipment at a time, one dump truck at a time. We're pretty far behind here. 6 dump trucks, a back truck, loader, pickup trucks. We're never going to get ahead by purchasing one at a time. So
So
this is the wish list for this year. A back truck, which is approximately $600,000. Front end loader, approximately $175,000. Street sweeper at about $200,000. Pickup truck with a plow, $60,000 to $75,000. A dump truck with a plow at approximately $200,000. And hopefully, being really
Skid steer.
Yeah. Yeah, it's thought process, but I would go with Swiss first. So, you know, in our day-to-day, we're good here. I mean, because two things, it would help us in certain situations. And first of all, if we were to purchase one, we'd probably get a milling head so we could do some grinding, but in essence, once we get our snow blower, it has a boom for street, for cleaning on construction sites. And, you know, we'll have the new backhoe that'll actually help with that. And also skid steer as far as snow blowing, we talked about the option of the skid steer. We no longer need that option, because we're gonna have a tractor with a 4-foot snow plow, enclosed cab, and a mini salter on the back. So it doesn't, you know, the skid steer doesn't come into the snow removal process any longer. So even though it would be good for, you know, milling and jackhammering in essence for frost and that type of good thing. Right, so, right, but even then, so you're talking, I've never priced a skid steer. I've heard numbers of $60,000 plus an attachment, so you'd be at $100,000. Someday it might be something that would help us.
Well, not necessarily. Trying to use.
You haven't really looked at, I mean, if we've toyed around with it, talked about it as a useful tool, but at this point, there's other things we like to see first.
Question, is this in the order of, if I review, I mean, if I can't get the whole list, what, number 1, 2, 3, you know?
I'll just interrupt you with this. The requested intention for this would actually be to bond. These pieces of equipment, I think Jeff, myself, and Christine have talked largely about what should have been replaced 15 years ago, honestly. And with the way our current budgets have been created was, as Jeff was saying, you know, a $40,000 piece of equipment here, you know, maybe a $100,000 piece of equipment.
No, I
Every so
understand that. I
often,
mean,
so.
I'm looking at it more like, you know, this is $1,450,000. If we could only, you know, if we have to dial that back, you know, what would you drop off? So that the opposite is to what you.
I'm gonna let you tell me. I gotta dial it back first before I answer that question.
Okay. The other thing is, do you know what the expected life?
I didn't take it that far. I could.
Well, it makes what we got.
I mean, yeah.
No, no.
I think probably a
How
dump truck.
long we've kept them.
Right.
Then how long the bank is to say you can finance this.
I would assume that back truck, dump trucks, loaders are 10 to 15 years life before you would, you know, and they'd still have value where you could trade them in and use that towards purchasing a replacement.
Yeah.
Is there any potential, as you've done with one of your vehicles, of sharing the cost and the use with another municipality? Or are they used all the time, or can you use them once in a while? In which case, they should idle and share them with someone. Maybe not for all of them, but
There's a possibility of that, but
Well,
everybody has that possibility too, and no one's ever come to us. That's for sure. I'm not saying it's not a good idea.
Well, you do from time to time.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
no,
Well, in essence, and when we pave, the towns all blacktop. We couldn't pave without the town. How we help them, the service that we share back with them to get that, you know, that we trade with them is, we go with our back truck and clean out their dry wells. They don't own a back truck, but they don't own sewer and water. Some towns do, some don't. Ballston has water, no sewer. Milton has no water or sewer. So how we help them, they help us all blacktop. We go and clean out dry wells, catch basins, driveway culverts. We take the back truck. That's the town of Malta. That's how we take those people back on the shared service thing. So
that's already shared vehicle.
right.
And I wouldn't.
Right. I mean, they all need dump trucks. They all have dump trucks. We don't need to share
I
dump
wouldn't
trucks.
think.
Front end loaders, they all have. We all have.
I wonder if they'd be interested in sharing it.
Well-
That's $600,000. It's just something to think about.
Yeah, it's a possibility, except for
During the summer months, we use it for
That's what.
So there's not a lot of, then it becomes,
Yeah. No, if there's anything with plows on it, you can't share because everybody's.
Yeah, not just asking the question.
no, it's a good
What
question.
about? What is that?
Spring cleaning, which is probably enough. It's a month of sweeping, and then we sweep downtown every Friday. If I had more men, we would probably sweep more of the village and more often, but
So that might be good attention. It's more scheduled type of thing. You know, if we're looking at anything this year.
it's a possibility. Here again, everybody sweeps in the spring, so that's when that's, because we've looked into renting, but the price is crazy. But everybody sweeps in the spring, summer, you might get away with it, but if you were to rotate days, that's a possibility. Yeah, 5,000 to 9,000 a month is street rental. I think it's better investment.
So we could rent your.
As long as you don't. Right.
Okay.
Well, yeah, that's.
Yeah, well, this is, you know, big chunk of change. We have to look at what we can, I mean, I believe that available to us 0%, which makes some difference.
I did attempt to reach out to the banks that we currently have on to. They did not get back to me. That being said, we do have that $1.5 million bond for the fire truck for 5 years at about $198,000 a year. So if you were to kind of take that into retrospect about what this request is, and maybe stretch it to 10 years because of the life of the equipment, and potentially be, again, forced with potentially 0% interest rates, and we're between $150,000 to $180,000 for a yearly payment.
Was there anything we talked about taking some out of fund balance for this? Like maybe some
There's always that possibility to
taking
lower.
fund- Is that you know, is it better to, from a financial standpoint, to take it out of fund balance than to pay for interest? I mean,
It would depend on what the principal and interest payment is per year versus, what we can actually raise taxes in for the tax levy versus, what you're comfortable on bonding. I mean, if you wanted to, put in $500,000 to lower the total financial amount, again, reduce your yearly payments, or maybe something that is more feasible.
yeah, that's what I'm,
Well,
maybe buying something, using fund balance and then financing it. And our debt limit is.
Our debt limit is rather high. I did the calculation, I believe, before the infrastructure workshop that you held a few months ago. I do believe there's potential for, off the top of my head, $23 or $24 million of bonding. Not to say that we're going to go out and go spend crazy, because of course we have to pay for that
There's
yearly
also-
payment. But
There's also, this equipment, but there's also, probably, we're not gonna get grants for 100% of water and sewer infrastructure, so they'll, I mean, Corinth in doing their sewer, now that did include sewer. They got a portion of it, this grant, and then the rest was in their. So we can't use up. Is that, how is that debt capacity? I mean, because there's debt capacity, which is sort of the allowed.
Yep.
And then there's working with a bank or a financial institution in there.
and that's what we don't know until we get a little bit further, if we do go down this route.
Well, the only other thing is, I believe the USDA also may be able.
It could be, especially because majority of this equipment could be allocated greatly to water and sewer, honestly.
Right,
Especially the back truck at the height.
Yeah, the back truck, yeah.
Well, I guess my thoughts on this is, I don't think we can wait another.
No, this isn't something necessarily, I mean, it's gonna take, well, we have to look. First, we have to meet with the people and find out would they finance? Is there grant available? What's the time? We need those answers first. But, you know, if we had the chance to get a certain percentage in grants and then finance the rest, it may be worth waiting here unless equipment is dying.
If we keep waiting, we're gonna.
We can spend another 1.5 million.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, but I
To
think we
really
need-
get going.
Yeah, I know, but I
And the
think,
only way, you gotta start somewhere.
right,
And you gotta, as Jeff said, we're not gonna do this by doing one thing a year.
no, I'm not talking about doing one thing a year, but, you know, when talking to people, they did a project and they decided to go out on all of it, not go. And then they did, you know, get 0%. And the next town did the same, but they got, you know, a significant source.
And I don't disagree. We certainly can go for another 1.5 million this year. We easily could spend that on more equipment. So,
But I don't think we should make the decision tonight that, oh, we're gonna go.
well.
No, but
we're
we
gonna
have
go
to- we
through
have
the
to-
budget
Right.
We have to
If you can get a hard answer in the next 2 weeks, definitely. So.
2 weeks.
That there's a possibility to get it this year.
No, I mean, we don't need it.
And you know, the other thing you have to think about even is, you know, when you place this order, if you bought this, I mean, how much of this stuff, even if we bought it, would we get in the
Well, when I
23
look
fiscal
at it,
year?
We'd be talking about the bond payment itself, so we can opt to use fund balance until we actually get the bond, because some equipment might come sooner and some might take 2 years
Yeah, we
usually.
But
But,
their rules are,
it's the yearly payment we do have the budget for.
no, I mean, I think for budgeting, assume, yes, we're going to be. And we're going to do that. But for what we actually do, like Julia was saying, if we can place an order and then work on it.
Yeah, that's fine. Again, it looks like we can get something by June. Fantastic. But I don't want to wait another year.
What is the US, when is the USDA agreement?
There isn't, I think it's, and, you know, I'm not, I mean, I just read the thing. You know, I suggest once we, you know, we talk to some folks who know more, we've gone through this process. And,
I think we have to at least explore the idea of it.
No, I'm not saying we should.
But by the time you apply for a grant, get a grant, it's gonna be a year.
Yeah.
We're kidding ourselves.
And-
If you think it's gonna be faster.
so this isn't like, the USDA program isn't like a competitive. You know, it's not, you know, put in your application, what you qualify, it's more like going for financing. And going through the end thing is also gonna take some time.
So what you're saying, you can finance it, well, there's no way we're getting a grant for 1.4 million bucks, right? So, but if we finance it, get financing from the USDA and then also a grant, some of it.
Right, yeah.
Right.
That's, I mean, I think it's about the best source of financing, and they have a great source as part of it. We should seriously look at it.
We will seriously look at it, but I also think we're not going to decide tonight, but we have to start on this. We really and truly do, and we have to do something that is serious.
Yeah.
That is.
So I agree, we need to work on, I guess I'm not completely aware of the urgency status of this. Obviously, when you go for 20 years and you repair things on a grade. So if we want it, so if we got $800,000 grant, to me, unless there's some emergency I don't know about, that would be worth perhaps waiting, taking a year to get that.
Well,
So
if a 24-year-old truck blows up next week, we're gonna be going to buy another dump truck. for $80,000 or $90,000, $110, or
In a few years.
Yeah,
it's gonna
no, I
be
know we need
$50,000.
to work on, we need to do it, but all this equipment isn't gonna blow up at the same time.
No.
What is the
Or-
most,
half of it has the potential.
Or even if we risk
We
eight
still have-
thousand, get 800,000.
All right,
I-
I have another question.
Yeah.
We've talked about the repair, okay. Any of this equipment injure anybody? Yeah.
We, not currently, not recently, but, you know, the back truck has contributed to a very high workers' compensation, we
yeah.
actually are really lucky that workers' compensation bill for the projected year went down, but there's been a lot of injuries. We've been
Yeah, I guess if
injuries.
it's a danger, then it's an emergency.
Yeah,
I'm trying to
it's-
understand what the emergency is.
Well, we are, the
Would you drive a
emergency is,
24-year-old car?
we're living
And feel
on borrowed,
comfortable?
we're living on borrowed time. I think we have to wrap our heads around that we're gonna have to do a serious chunk of this. And that what we're saving on is, we're saving on all the repairs, and we're saving on the fact that some of this stuff is getting, dangerous.
Well, that's true. If we think about it, for 150,000 a year that we're paying to this bond, but we're saving 50,000, say, on repair or more a year. Is that true?
You're picking a number, that's probably, we're definitely gonna be saving on parts, that's for sure. I've never
How much?
analyzed it. No offense, I've never spent my time because it's always been not getting equipment, so.
We did just have a large expense
That's a
a
back
few
truck,
months ago in the sewer,
$13,000
yeah.
truck.
For the back.
Right, so it doesn't take much for a breakdown and all of a sudden you
Right.
save $50,000.
Right, and the other thing is, now, not that anybody might, but just bear me out here, is any of the stuff on this list, is anybody gonna buy it? Some third world country?
Sure.
Sorry,
Sure.
I'm getting a little punchy, but is there any?
Sure, I've taken a guess that somebody might pay $10,000, some farmer might pay $10,000, but that's just a guess, I mean, I
Yeah.
have no
That's
guarantee of that.
what, okay. Not significant.
No town's gonna buy it from you, no
No,
municipality is gonna
We
buy
already
it.
bought some.
No contractor most likely is
But
gonna
there
buy it.
might be some.
Some value, but
Right.
Tourism.
I probably have better stuff. So, yeah,
Well, certainly if there's a safety issue, that's an emergency.
well, this is also next year's budget, so that doesn't happen. Right, so.
Well, let's explore it.
No, I think we
Slash
should
finance,
explore the financial
Since
sources.
I've been sitting in budget sessions, these vehicles have been breaking down and have. So
Did we ever go for USDA?
No, we
All
haven't done
right.
it before. And,
your book's gotta be in.
yeah, well, your books have to be ordered and you have to be qualified as.
And you have to be fiscally solvent.
All right, so we're ready then.
Yes, yeah, we can do it, right, yes. We can,
Are you in touch with this?
we are. I mean, I have the information. Yeah.
All right, well,
All right, so that being said, you asked Jeff a question, I don't know if you want to answer it, but, what are the highest priorities on this equipment? Certainly the back.
the
truck.
back truck,
Okay,
back truck,
is number one, okay.
back truck, then a dump truck, then the sweeper.
All right, then one dump truck is number two, then the sweeper is number three. Okay,
Pickup truck.
No, I don't need a truck. I don't need a pickup truck. It's not for me. It's, I need a bigger one for plowing and moving men around. You know what I mean? That's why it is. It's the four-door, lift gate,
so is that,
four-wheel
is
drive.
that a pickup truck with a snowplow?
Yeah,
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's number four.
I guess so. I'm hedging between that and the loader. I've lost track of what I say. What did I say? Because I picked up, I'm not giving up on all of them. So
No, we're not giving
get pickup then from it.
And then second to them.
We're doing so many repairs and pickup trucks.
And if we talk to USDA and it's gonna take a year, then, we'll go that way.
Yeah, I still think we can pursue that, especially if there's a partial matching grant. Or maybe a future purchase of equipment. Because a lot of this equipment in a year might break down too, so.
And once,
You know,
and we have to
this is
understand,
making up
whatever,
for over
we're
a
gonna
decade.
finance. Yes, so we're not gonna take $600,000 out just to buy that. So we're gonna put tax of this and finance it somewhere.
No, yeah. I'm not feeling comfortable with taking big chunks out of it. We don't know what other kinds of emergencies could arise.
And the
Especially with the
back
opportunity.
truck is definitely sewer and water. Yes, so that's the other thing to mark.
You have 4 to 5 times a day.
Because there's the EFC revolving loan fund. So there's two sources. So, and then, I don't know. If we do I don't know if that may not, but who knows? We need, find out the front end loader is not sewer and water.
Sure can be.
Can be. And pickup trucks and-
There can be an allocation there if we need.
So that would be more out. Yep. Okay, because I want to get the feel for if
How
the
much
source is related to water and sewer, like revolving loan fund, then
Right.
which pieces could we fund with that?
And I'm sorry, Jeff, I should know this, but tell me the piece of equipment that we have on order. I should remember it, not backhoe. Backhoe, okay. Rubber tire backhoe. Okay. Thank you.
And that's always.
That is helpful.
Oh, yeah, there's not. So we. Come on home. We can't do anything.
Okay.
They can't bill us on it, but they should. So.
We do have to encumber the funds. though, which we
When
have.
you're in sales, it doesn't do any good to take an order if you don't put the product. So they're not doing it because they don't want to bill us. They want to send us, they want to send us an invoice, so.
Okay,
They
I
want
can
to,
get them.
they want to ship it to us as much as we want it to be shipped.
I had to wait a year for a wet saw, wet pavement saw. to show up. I don't know why.
So you order something from Amazon and it's there the next day, but you can't.
Okay, thank you very much. It's 10:20. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you all. And our next meeting
Thank you.
is, I'm just gonna say February 8th. Our next meeting is,
March 8th.
March 8th, and that's fire. I know it's fire.
Fire PD, Village Hall, Part 1.
Okay, thank you.
As much as we want to
As
get
much
through.
as we can get through without losing our mind.
It would be helpful to get that. a little more
Yep.
detailed.
We will get once you, yeah.
Much fun.
Yeah.
You said all the numbers.
I do have the numbers, yeah.